4950 a sequitur, and Education Code Section 35140 a sequitur at the District Educational Center at 1301 East Orangethorpe Avenue in Placentia at 434. We will take blue cards for comments before the study session. If you'd like to speak, we will give you a couple of minutes to complete public comment cards, and comments at this time are limited to the study session only. So, looks like we have just one comment. Anything else come through? Okay. At this time, I'll call up Linda Cohn.
I have some visual aids as part of my presentation. If you can just see the outline, I think that's going to be sufficient. Anyway, the key part of this presentation is going to deal with declining enrollment, and I really want to address that issue specifically. You are going to see very important piece of information. It's going to look exactly like this about halfway through about declining enrollment, and it shows a rather precipitous decline. I want to show you a black and white copy that I have highlighted. If you look at the red in the center, you will see what is called a very clear anomaly in this particular decline. Specifically, the red encompasses a year period where the decline, rather than being 200, 300, 400, was 7 students. If you want to really explore the idea of why enrollment is declining, please look at this anomaly. It may tell you something. It is within a time frame that can be easily examined. And I want to raise this question for you. What was taking place during that particular time frame that not only stopped the decline, but if you go internally within the context of that year period, it actually increased enrollment? What was happening in Placentia-Yorba during that particular time frame? If you really want to get at least a partial answer to why we have a precipitous decline that at one point completely stopped and then continued on an even sharper downward trend afterwards, that's going to answer a lot of questions. I can tell you pretty easily that this is an anomaly because statewide enrollment has declined without interruption. And I think you'll get some data on this. I can also tell you pretty easily why California state enrollment has declined. There are a lot of factors. This is just speculation on my part, but if you go deeply into some of these areas, the influence that Common Core had, particularly in California, California clung to Common Core, most of the rest of the states bailed on it. Comprehensive sexual education, I think, was a factor in a lot of parents pulling their kids. During COVID, parents found out about critical race theory being taught in classrooms, about the LGBT agenda that focused on transgender affirmation. Parents did not like this being taught to their kids. The key phrase during this time period was indoctrination, not education. That answers a lot of questions.
Thank you,
but
Mrs.
again,
Cohn.
go back to Placentia-Yorba
Thank
and
you,
the
Mrs. Cohn.
specific enrollment.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah,
Okay. Maybe because the 2 minutes.
maybe.
Okay, we will begin our study session now. And we'll turn the time over to Ms. Velasco.
Okay. Well, thank you. I'm very happy to be here to begin this presentation. Jeremy, are you good? Okay, got it. Okay. So our agenda for this evening, we're going to talk about our current budget situation. I'll be giving you some information related to different aspects of what affects our budget. We'll be looking at themes that were very clear from our budget committee meeting that we had. And then we're going to start to discuss the board's priorities for moving forward with our budget stabilization plan and our next steps. So you've seen this slide before. This was from our unaudited actuals for 24-25. And when we take a look at this, we're only wanting to look at our unrestricted general fund numbers because that is really where we need to take a look to see what is it that we need to address. So looking here at this first green column, you can see, and just looking down to the yellow row, because I know that we're limited for time, is that we, for the end of last year, we actually ended up with a $6.4 million deficit. Looking at what we're addressing for this current year, it's a $15.6 million deficit. Projecting out, and just as based on just the information that we had at the time of the adopted budget, an additional $13 million deficit in 26-27 and almost a $12 million deficit in 27-28. Other information that we want to take a look at is what's happening in California statewide. So you can see here across the state, we're continuing to have declining enrollment. And as you go through here, you can see currently in 24-25, even with adding TK across the state, we still are at 5.8 million students, and that's an additional drop of 500,000 students, even with the increased numbers related to our new TK requirements, where we are now accepting all students at that time. And so state declining enrollment continues. Going and taking a look here at statewide, what's happening. So you've also seen this in prior information. The kids, if you look down here for our primary grades, K through 3, 4th grade, the numbers that we have in those grade levels statewide is much smaller than the students that are leaving us in the high school years. So we have less children coming in than are going out, and so that's why we have declining enrollment. Looking at the county. So county-wide, we're still seeing the same thing as what's happening statewide. And,
Sorry, one question, just
I'm sorry,
clarification.
yes,
This is supposed to be dollars or no? It's supposed to be
it's not dollars.
attendance, right?
No, it's attendance. There should be a dollar
I got
sign.
real confused. I was like,
Thank
wait,
you.
what are we?
No dollars. It's $5.8 million, the enrollment, so dollar sign should not be there. Good
Got it.
catch.
Just making sure.
No, I love that, thank you.
I'm
I
looking for
love
money.
it.
I've been looking for money all day. I'm finding it now.
Good. County enrollment projections, and so here too, you can see the different counties throughout the state, and even the ones that are actually in the positive, so you can see that top line there, the green one, even though it's increasing, it's not increasing by very much. And so with an 8% increase for that one. But looking at all of the others, you can see by percentage how much they've been dropping and are projected to drop through 2033-34. And then the orange line there, that's actually our county. And so we're projected to continue dropping, and it'll be about a 16% decrease when we get a few more years out here. So we are definitely following in the county what's happening statewide. And then looking at our district.
Sorry, another
Yes.
clarification question.
Another
purple,
dollar
the
sign?
purple line. Yeah, no, that didn't say no. The purple line is the state as a whole, right? So we're below the state average?
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you for that. Any other questions? And let me know.
Are people moving, or are they just going to private schools, charter schools?
From what we can see, it's really just a decline in birth rate also. I know also with our immigration policies too, that there's been, not as many people here because of that also.
Hear about Virginia, or no, North Carolina today? 40,000 students.
Wow.
Oh, gosh,
We're not, we're
Yeah.
not in North Carolina today.
yeah.
Now,
Yes.
that would account for an extreme change. However, this is a progressive problem.
Right,
Yes.
that's progress. I'm just saying, like, at least we're not North Carolina.
Right.
Oh, that's true.
I'll jump in because this is something I've been dealing with for about 3 years now. As we look at it, I've worked with folks at both the national level as well as state level demographers looking at the data. It's really fascinating because they'll talk about the fact that this started to happen pre-pandemic, and we lost track of it because of the pandemic. And then the pandemic, came to a tail end, and then all of a sudden folks went, wait, where'd all the kids go? Because there was really no notice of the decline happening and the realization that when you bring in, 1,000 less kids in kindergarten then you graduate in 12th grade, there's one decline. And then from there has been some impact from either homeschooling, because folks begin to realize that they can do online, or they can do homeschool, and they can do some different flexible things. And between those two things, it definitely has impacted every state across the country. And then, of course, there's some other factors like you just talked about that definitely have an impact. But overwhelmingly, we didn't see it, we didn't notice it, or we didn't want to see it prior to the pandemic. And then after the pandemic, everybody went, whoa, Nelly, hang on a minute, what happened? And there's been just an unbelievable increase in the number of articles that have been published about declining enrollment, and folks going, what happened, what happened, what happened? And it's been the train is coming. People just didn't see the train.
And then too, isn't it true with the budgets in 2017, 2018, we were starting to get into the deficit spending, but we got all that one-time money.
Yep.
So we just, it was like everything was ignored, and then boom, once the one-time money stopped, it's just.
Yeah, it exacerbated some challenge because we got all of this resource to help address so many of the challenges that happened, but it prolonged the inevitable, and now we're all having to figure out what do we do to balance it.
And we've also been able to get ADA based on previous enrollment numbers, and now we're actually, it's all catching up.
So when we calculate.
One last thing, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Do we have a comparison? I looked through this, but I didn't see it. A comparison of population loss in general compared to, I'm just saying, like, if birth rate's a problem, then obviously it's going to correlate to us. Do we know how much of that is a factor? Or have we not gotten into the depth of that yet?
Well, we did a demography study. I can go through there and pull out some graphs for you if that's what you're looking for.
Just
more
to kind of see,
detailed
like,
information.
is it
But-
half of the drop is because of population, or is it 20%? Is it 80%?
Right. Well, let me look into the
That'd be
detailed
interesting.
one and I'll find that for you.
Okay.
Can I throw something else out? Orange County Business Journal just did a release of information about the projected, what it's going to look like over the next few years. So it's a great report that you can just Google search. It was like last week, it just came out.
What is it?
Orange County Business Journal, it's conditions of Orange County, something like that.
So it just deals with population.
It's got all kinds of data.
And,
Yeah.
there we go. And I did read another article too, where a lot of families, just because of how expensive everything is, they're choosing to only have one child, where before, at least, you would have two children replacing yourselves. So it's definitely changing what we're doing here. So here's our district enrollment numbers, and again, this goes back to, if you go back to 24-25, we've declined our enrollment by over 3,000 students since 15-16. And then projecting out through 27-28, we look like we're going to have another, by that point, from going back to 2015-16, it'll be up to 4330. And so we are also following what county and state looks like too. So here's additional information. We know that we're, with our dropping in our enrollment, what we're also looking at is what are the other costs that are affecting our budget. So 86% of the budget are people costs. We have 2.5% of the budget being spent on our books and supply costs. 8.5% of our budget is for things like services and utilities to support the district. When we go down below that, we have our classified statutory benefits at 36%. So every dollar we spend for a payroll, we have to spend an additional 36 cents on statutory costs. Certificated staff, but that's at 22%. And our health and welfare average cost is around $27,000 per employee. So this is putting a lot of pressure on our budget. Moving on here, we can now look at, okay, this is just for information. If we look at a cost of one furlough day for all staff members, that's at $1.1 million savings to the budget. And then I broke it down by different categories, just for your information. And then going over to the right, instead of looking at a furlough day, what would it look like if we had a 1%? And 1% for the district's about $2.7 million. So, and again, that was broken down by category.
That was asked as a question within the budget
Committee.
conversation. They wanted to know what those costs were, so we figured we could get to you as well.
Yes.
Are you thinking of furlough days?
Well, right, go ahead.
Thinking of
Yeah.
everything right
I'm
now.
thinking of
Yeah,
everything.
that's it. We're thinking of what are all the different ways we can look at, and part of today's conversation is getting with you all to ask the question, what would be your top priorities, and what would be the things that you say, this would be the last thing we'd want you to put on the list, this would be the first thing, so that we can have conversations with budget managers throughout our organization to talk about our board's priorities as we build a budget that we bring you that reflects that.
And then this diagram here, it's really just to give a visual to how do the costs relate to our children in our classrooms. So right in the center here, you can see this is a student in a classroom with their teacher. Moving out on the oval here, the green is direct supports for students, and these are direct interventions and services that help our students to learn and succeed. And some of those positions are like our administrators, our nurses, and our aides. And then moving out further from that, this yellow oval here is what are all of the auxiliary supports that we give to our students, and those are things like transportation, custodial, and so on and so forth. So we did have a budget committee meeting, and a lot of them had a lot of questions, and so this is a synopsis of what's being asked of the district so that they can look at how we would be looking at reductions. And so I wanted to also present this to the board so that you'll have an idea of what was discussed in the committee. So these are their words. So are we looking at reductions away from the classroom? Has there been a review of the district's programs, course offerings, platforms, and electives to determine either consolidating them or removing them? Is there correct staffing at the district office and the school sites? How much money is being spent on overtime? So that was a concern. What formulas or staffing ratios are being used to build the budgets? And what does it cost to run a school? And have the union contracts been reviewed to see if there would be any cost savings related to release time, staffing ratios, et cetera? So that's just a bit of information before you go into the discussion of what it is that you would like to relate to when we start to look at these different things.
Can I ask?
Yes.
What is
Who
the
is
budget
there?
committee comprised of? Like,
Sure.
is a breakdown?
Yes. So we had our presidents from Maryland was there. We also had our union presidents too that were there. We had all of us here from executive cabinet. We had some of our director management there. We had some of our principals from every grade level there also. So we were looking for like a overview of the entire district. We did not include parents in that for the first time, just because we wanted really to direct it to just gathering some information from those different groups.
I was kind of curious if there was parents involved, because I don't think this is a first level
Yes.
parent involvement situation.
Okay.
So in looking both at time and the need to get your feedback, I tried to create a process that at least would allow us to come back to you and say, here's what we heard from you. So I created a bit of a Cliff Notes piece to kind of start with. Would you pass that way? Pass that way. What I did, I just created a note catcher where I asked, these are all potential considerations. They are by no means an inclusive list, but they're at least a starting point for you to take a look at. It's things like class size, extracurricular activities, extended day programs, curriculum investment cycles, healthy fund balance, maintaining walking distance for students, increasing the number of years in bus replacement cycle, prioritize staff reductions at a district level over school staff reductions, do not fill current vacancies unless they're a critical role, eliminate course offerings with fewer than 8 students, professional development investments, travel, and then other. And I just wanted to give you each an opportunity to kind of think for a moment and prioritize for yourself, what are the top 3 things that you would say protect, do not reduce? And what are the 3 things that you would advocate to be at the top of the list of things that you would say, this is where you should start? What I'm going to do with that is try to figure out some thematic consensus from all of you and report that back to you to say, here's what we heard. Do you agree? Do you not agree? And let's engage in a conversation. But at least tonight, I wanted just initially each of you to be able to respond and then to be able to share with you what you all gave us as far as feedback. Does that make sense? They're already starting, so yes, it must. The one last thing I'll say is, you're going to give me that piece of paper at the end of the day, just so you know. I'm going to take it, just so you know. I need it so that I can compile it and use it as part of discussions with our cabinet team to figure out how do we begin to put together a list that's indicative of your priorities.
I just need to know if I need to turn on my mic. One thing I will say is when we're talking about the staff reductions at the district level over school staff reductions, like I was kind of appalled that we put another admin position at Esperanza when we're in severe declining enrollment over there, and we took away a French 1 class. Like that was highly controversial, you know, and we had all these emails. And I was shocked that Mussolino denied that he had put in, what did he put in over there? It was what was that? Dean. Yeah, a dean of students. And yeah, there's a dean of students at Esperanza. And so he moves a district staff over to an admin position at Esperanza. And I asked him about this. I said, when did we have a dean of students at Esperanza? He goes, well, we don't. And I sent him a screenshot of the dean of students. And I said, yes, we do. He says, oh yeah, I guess we do. And so that was a slap in the face to all of our families at Esperanza, because they got course classes taken away from their students, but then they piled it on while you're telling all of the teachers over there that they need to give stuff up and they need to do this while you're piling more on administration. So I think that would be something we should not be doing.
My first instinct would be prioritize reducing staff at the district level first. However, if that means that we're moving people and then it's giving us a inflated staff at the school sites, then that doesn't help anything. So let's just be realistic. That's what I would say about that.
If you move people, the bottom line's not going to change. And if we're going
Right.
to get to the budget reduction, we're going to have to make reductions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Joan, maybe, I think there's a question for you. The thing it says increased number of years in bus replacement cycle. What does that do to us in continuing maintenance if we were to lengthen, like, I know they get used every day, so.
Those are things, so we have a replacement plan throughout the district for our vehicles. So it's really, might add a little bit more maintenance to things as we keep them longer, but safety is our priority. So we make sure everything gets maintained, and if we needed to go out and purchase additional vehicles for whatever reason, we would do it, just to maintain our program.
Can we not just say, don't buy new ones until we need them?
That's what we're doing.
Okay.
And just so you know, we actually dropped this year $500,000 from the transportation budget, and we're not replacing vehicles this year unless we absolutely have to, so.
Nights and Saturdays driving around, and I know a lot of times that they have to go sit. Is there?
So we have overtime really district-wide. There's overtime in our maintenance departments, there's overtime in our transportation departments, facilities or facility use. So, you know, we're looking at different ways that we can get the work done. But that is definitely what we're looking at right now is where can we start to save on some of these things and how can we do things a little bit differently? But it really is across a lot of our classified staff, not just transportation.
Well, for instance, at Yorba High School in the weight room, if they have to rent out the weight room, they have to pay a custodian fee. And it makes no sense because they're in there for maybe 30 minutes to an hour and the boys or whoever's in there will clean it themselves. And so you're paying like, they're renting out the room, but then you're paying like what, $150 or whatever it is for a custodian. So is there some type of regulation that says if we rent it out that you have to have the custodian? Because there's like what, one bathroom in there? And then they can wipe down is there anything that's like starting to say we look at things like that and say if the team, because these people who are renting out the thing, they would rather save money than pay for a custodian. Are we able to have leeway, or is that some type of a law?
Well, I'd have to look up if there's an exact law that says you have to have custodial, but the reason that I know that we do custodial is for safety and sanitation reasons. At any time when any of our facilities are used, we need to be cleaning those bathrooms at a minimum. So my thoughts would be, can we do something maybe a little bit different that maybe the next morning we used custodial to clean versus that
Right.
night, those types of things. So we really are starting to have conversations in all of our departments on, can we start looking outside of the box and can we do things a little bit differently? Is there any kind of way to save money but get things done that we need to get done?
Right.
Efficiency.
Yeah, because it would make sense if a team uses a weight room for an hour and then we just come in the next morning and clean it. We don't have to have somebody waiting around that night. That makes so much sense. Almost too much sense.
I would assume that there's some component of that is, there's some staff member there. Like, just as,
Right.
as far as a person being there, whether it's custodian or not, I don't know if
The
that
person
matters.
who rented it
but-
out, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Maintain walking distance. That would mean like we would be moving classes further away for.
No,
what is that talking
typically
about?
what we have a walk radius that if you live outside of that, we offer bus services. And if you say maintain that, then we keep offering the same amount of busing that we offer now. If we say instead of a 1.5 mile walk radius, it goes to a 2 mile radius, then is there a potential savings in that? That's typically what a school district will look at.
Got it. I was thinking initially of the Esperanza Bridge, and I'm like, man, those kids walk a long ways. I don't want to make them walking longer.
Now, it is right at 5 o'clock, and so I want to respect everybody's time. I would just ask that you pinky swear you're going to give me this sheet before you leave tonight so that the cabinet team and I can compile this and share it back out with you in a weekly update. And then from there, we can schedule future conversations with the board as we put together lists of potential reductions through the lens that you offer us. Does that seem reasonable? Okay. Thank you.
Can you pass that down? Go ahead. You can add some.
So, in every district I've ever worked in, the foundation starting point when you build a budget, especially when you're looking at reductions, is to start with what the board's priorities are, for us to be able to think through that lens and offer a thoughtful budget that reflects that. And so especially in reductions, that's really important. So thank you for providing that input.
Okay. Thank you, Joan. Okay, so we are getting ready to move to closed sessions. And public comments at this time are limited to only on closed session agenda items only. And we will adjourn to closed session for the purpose of discussing the following matters. 4.1, public employment discipline, dismissal, suspension, release, leave, assignment, non-reelection, non-reappointment, resignation, reinstatement pursuant to Government Code 54957. 4.2, personnel matters, public employee appointments, employment pursuant to Government Code 54957, chief business officer. 4.3, conference with labor negotiations. Negotiators, Dr. Kim LeBlanc Esparza, Superintendent, Joan Velasco, Interim Assistant Superintendent, Business Services, Yolanda Mendoza, Acting Assistant Superintendent, Human Resources, with all three of our unions, CSEA, APLE, and PLUM. 4.4, conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, significant exposure to litigation pursuant to paragraph 2 of subdivision D of Government Code section 54956.91 case, and 4.5, claims, general liability claim number 655084 and general liability claim number 663700. Do we have anyone wanting to speak in closed session? Okay, so we have 0 speakers, and so we will adjourn to closed session at 5:05. Okay, everyone, sorry that we were out late. We're going to reconvene to regular session at 6:30 p.m. And side note to Jeremy, this clock has not officially come to daylight savings time. So if I mess up on the time, it's because it's right there yelling at me. Okay, we do have a report out of closed session. The board took action to appoint John Papalardo, effective December 15th, 2025, to serve as the Chief Business Officer for the Placentia-Yorba Unified School District. The motion was made by myself and the second by Mr. Frazier, and the vote was 5-0. And at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Kim to introduce Dr. Papalardo.
Thank you, President Anderson. I'm actually going to ask Ms. Mendoza to introduce him. I'm just going to say how excited I am to have him joining Team PYL. John comes to us with a great deal of experience in the role of CBO, and he's going to be a phenomenal asset to our school district. So, Yoli, I'm going to pass it to you to introduce Dr. Papalardo.
I like the big thing right here. I like this better. Yeah. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, board. It is my pleasure to introduce Dr. John Papalardo. He comes to us with a bachelor's degree from Cal Poly Pomona in business administration. He has a master's degree management services from Cal State Fullerton, and he has a doctorate degree from Laverne in educational leadership. He is currently serving as the Chief Business Officer for the Cambrian School District in Northern California. He brings extensive experience in school district leadership and fiscal management. He has previously served as Superintendent and CBO in San Gabriel Unified School District, CBO in Pasadena Unified School District, and various leadership roles within business and finance at Fullerton Joint Union High School District. In his administrative capacity as Chief Business Officer, he has provided oversight for a wide range of operational departments, including business service, facilities, maintenance, construction, risk management, workers' compensation, nutrition, purchasing, technology, and transportation. He has successfully managed a capital improvement program totaling $465 million, which included $300 million in general obligation bonds. In addition to his administrative leadership, he has served as adjunct instructor at Cal State San Jose, teaching finance and business courses for doctoral students, and at Cal State University, Los Angeles, where he has taught business and finance. It is my pleasure to introduce John Papalardo.
Thank you. I I only feel a little old now. So, good evening, Board President Anderson, members of the Placentia-Yorba Linda Unified School District Board of Education, Superintendent Dr. LeBlanc Esparza, staff and guests. Truly, I am honored to be here tonight. While I'm new to Placentia, as Yolanda said, I started out my career in education 30 some years ago in Fullerton High School District, almost 10 years there in the late 80s through the mid 90s, and I am so excited to be back in North Orange County. Yolanda went over my whole history, and it is sort of long, so I'd like to just extend my heartfelt thank you to Superintendent Dr. Ken LeBlanc Esparza for your support and leadership, and I look forward to collaborating with everybody here in Placentia to support our students and strengthen our community. I appreciate all of your support. I am eager to get started on this new journey, and I will just say one quote on the bottom of my email is always, the foundation of every state is the education of its youth. And it's as important today about educating our youth for our future as it was 2.5 millennia ago when Aristotle said it. So thank you all for the warm welcome, and I look forward to getting started.
Thank you. We're very excited to have you on our team, and feel like we're getting the band back together again. So at this time, I'm going to ask Mrs. Buck to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, let the record show that all board members are present, and including our student board member. Perfect. Okay. I need a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mrs. Blades, a second by Mrs. Quintero. All in favor?
Aye.
And that is an 5-0 with an aye from our student board member. Okay, public comment announcement. Public comment cards are available in the foyer. Cards must be completed and turned in prior to the designated time for public comment. Provide a maximum of 3 minutes per person. If translation is needed, an additional 3 minutes will be given. Please let us know. If we know ahead of time, we can ensure we are prepared. Civility policy. Education Code 220 prohibits discrimination on the basis of disability, gender, gender identity, gender expression, nationality, race, ethnicity, religion, sexual orientation, or any other characteristic that is contained in the definition of hate crime set forth in Section 422.55 of the Penal Code, including immigration status. Additionally, if there are any disruptions or interferences of the board's ability to conduct its meeting, the disrupted parties will be given one warning. If the disruption continues, you will be informed that the board president has found you disruptive in violation of Penal Code Section 403, Education Code Section 32210, and the board president will order you removed from the meeting under Government Code 54957.9, 54957.95. If removing one or several disruptive parties does not restore order, the board president will exercise their authority to clear the room in accordance with Government Code 54957.9. Okay, 11.1.
I'll make a motion we approve the minutes of the regular meeting of October 21st, 2025.
Second.
Okay. Well, we have a motion by Mrs. Buck, a second by Mr. Frazier. Are there any questions or corrections? Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, that's 4-0 with a aye from our student board member.
Do you want to mark, do you abstain? I think you need to do an abstention or a vote, right?
She
So
wasn't here.
abstaining would be that.
Yeah,
I'll abstain.
okay.
Just so that we all add up to 5.
I'll abstain, President. We're all president.
Okay, 11.2.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the special meeting of October 28th, 2025.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Frazier, a second by Mrs. Quintero. Any questions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That motion carries 5-0, and our student board member was not present, so she doesn't get to vote. Okay, we are going to have a presentation now. So at this time, I will turn it over to Dr. Kim for comments.
Thank you, President Anderson. As you all know, we have members of our staff that have come and spoken to you and feel very passionate about the use of Narcan and the availability of Narcan in our schools to save lives. And in talking with Ms. Gray and her staff, really learning what our staff has done to try to provide that support, I felt like it was very important that you hear from our team in terms of the professional development, the availability, kind of what work has been done in that space, and get to ask those questions. So I'm grateful. Ms. Gray, I'm going to hand it over to you to introduce.
Perfect. Thank you. Good evening, President Anderson, members of the board, and Superintendent Dr. Kim. It is my pleasure to introduce our District Health Administrator, Michelle DeHaven. She will be presenting tonight on our district's emergency response protocols and our efforts addressing the opioid crisis, including the use of Narcan, as well as our ongoing commitment to student health, education, and awareness. Michelle has been an invaluable member of the PYL-USD team, supporting our students and staff every day to ensure that they are ready to learn and thrive. Her expertise and dedication have been recognized widely. In fact, she was named the OC School Nurse Organization's School Nurse of the Year in 2016. Yep. She serves as president of the OC School Nurse Organization and is a recipient of the Shining Light Award from the Raise Foundation. And she has spent the past 23 years in PYL, and I think all of us would agree, being extremely dedicated to our students, staff, and community. So we're truly fortunate to have Michelle here, and we're looking forward to hearing her insights on this important and much anticipated topic. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Michelle DeHaven.
So thank you, Board President Marilyn Anderson, trustees, Dr. Kim, Executive Cabinet, and our Student Board Representative for asking me to speak tonight on PYL USD's Emergency Response and Narcan Update. Tonight I'd like to give an overview of how we have prepared our schools to respond in the event of an opioid emergency. By the end of this presentation, my goal is for you to have a clear understanding of what the legal and policy framework is in regard to Narcan in schools, an update on the opioid crisis and fentanyl trends in Orange County, the district's commitment to student health and emergency response, the work we have done to train school staff to respond to a potential opioid overdose, and lastly, how we provide opportunities to educate and train families and students. Let's begin with an explanation of what the California Education Code says about naloxone, also known as Narcan, in our schools. Back in 2017, the state passed a law to help address the growing opioid crisis. It gave schools, both public and private, the option, not the requirement, to keep Narcan on campus in case of a potential opioid overdose. If a district decided to participate in the program that allowed schools to stock Narcan, any staff member could volunteer to be trained in the administration of Narcan. The Narcan is provided free of charge through the state's naloxone distribution project. The law also protects those trained employees from liability as long as they act in good faith during an emergency. Lastly, Narcan must be stored in a safe, well-known, and easily accessible location. Overall, this law is meant to help schools be ready for the opioid-related medical emergencies while protecting the staff who step up to help. This slide highlights the growing danger of opioids, especially fentanyl, and why it has become such a critical public health concern. Opioids are a class of drugs that include both prescription pain medications and illegal substances. Some common examples are Vicodin, OxyContin, morphine, codeine, heroin, and fentanyl. Fentanyl, in particular, is a synthetic opioid that's 50 to 100 times more potent than morphine. Because it's so powerful, even a tiny amount can be fatal. Here in Orange County, fentanyl is now the leading cause of overdose deaths, which shows just how widespread and dangerous this crisis has become. Another major concern is that fentanyl is often mixed into counterfeit pills or other street drugs, so people may not be aware that they are taking fentanyl, which greatly increases the risk of accidental overdose. Finally, Narcan, a life-saving medication, can reverse an opioid overdose if administered quickly. On the next two slides, we will be looking at data specific to Orange County. This chart shows opioid overdose deaths in Orange County from 2018 to 2024. The green bar shows deaths caused by fentanyl alone, and the blue bar shows deaths from other opioids, such as prescription painkillers or heroin. The gray line at the top represents the percentage of opioid deaths caused by fentanyl each year. In 2018, fentanyl was involved in about 1/3, or 37% of opioid deaths. By 2021, overdose deaths peaked, and fentanyl made up nearly 87% of those deaths. In 2024, deaths decreased from 2021 peak, but fentanyl still accounted for almost all opioid deaths. It's encouraging to see the overall decrease of opioid deaths during 2024. This may indicate progress due to increased awareness, community education, and wider access to Narcan. On the next slide, we're going to look more closely at how the trends are affecting youth and young adults. Let's take a look at fentanyl-related overdose deaths among youth and young adults in Orange County from 2018 through 2024. The blue, orange, and green lines represent different age groups. For this presentation, we'll be focusing on the orange line, which represents youth ages 10 through 17, the largest age group served in our schools. This group experienced an increase in deaths in 2020 and 2021, followed by a decline in most recent years. The overall trend shows a decline in fentanyl-related deaths since 2021, highlighting why prevention, education, and emergency response, including access to Narcan, remains so important in schools. Here we can see the doses of Narcan across the county and our district. While the law permitting Narcan in schools was passed in 2017, schools were not able to apply until 2022 through the naloxone distribution project. Our district acted quickly that year, applied for the program, received Narcan, and immediately began training volunteer staff. Additionally, we have received Narcan donations and currently have a readily available supply of Narcan. Between 2022 and 2025, our district administered 3 doses of Narcan, but each were later determined not to be opioid related. All other 28 districts combined in Orange County reported 4 doses of Narcan administered during that same time period. Even though actual administrations have been low, having Narcan available and trained staff ensures we are ready to respond immediately to any opioid-related emergency. Now that we've talked about Orange County as a whole, let's take a look at what we are doing in our district to support student health, safety, and emergency response. First, CPR, AED, and Narcan trainings have been offered to all staff throughout the school year. This ensures that staff members who wish to volunteer have the opportunity to be trained and prepared to respond in an emergency situation. Second, each school site has an emergency response team made up of trained staff members who are certified in CPR, first aid, Narcan administration, and AED use. These teams are prepared to act quickly and effectively in a wide range of emergency situations. At all high schools, campus supervisors are part of this valuable team and carry Narcan with them at all times. In addition to emergency response efforts, our district is focused on prevention and awareness. We continue to provide education for students and families on the dangers of fentanyl and other opioids, as well as strategies to make safe and healthy choices. I'll be sharing more of those details of these trainings later in the presentation. Lastly, Narcan and AEDs are stored together on each of our campuses so that emergency response teams are to find them and can act immediately if needed. Both staff and students are made aware of their locations, ensuring quick access and coordinated response before emergency personnel arrive. Speaking of Narcan and AEDs being stored together, let's review where they can be found throughout our district. We currently have 92 AEDs across all school campuses and district sites. They are strategically placed with clear signage to make them easy to find. On a typical campus, elementary schools have 1 AED, middle schools have 2, and high schools have 6 to 8 depending on campus size. Each AED case contains an AED, Narcan, and a ready kit. In addition to the fixed AED locations, staff who complete Narcan training may keep doses in their classroom or their workspace. Distribution continues while supplies last, and expiration dates are closely monitored to ensure all doses remain effective and ready for use in an emergency. Since 2022, our district has made significant progress in preparing staff for emergencies. A total of 785 staff members have been trained on Narcan administration by our district nurses. In addition, 625 staff members have completed CPR and AED training. This represents approximately 45% of our full-time staff trained in Narcan administration. Overall, our district nurses have spent 700 hours conducting these trainings. These efforts demonstrate our commitment to equipping staff with the skills and knowledge needed to respond quickly and effectively in life-threatening situations. Finally, I want to highlight our efforts in school community education and opioid awareness. All high school students receive education about opioids as part of their health curriculum. We are also offering Narcan training in partnership with our district's Family Resource Center and the Orange County Healthcare Agency. This year, 8 sessions are being offered across multiple campuses for adults and students ages 12 and older. Additionally, UC Irvine Health is partnering with PYL-USD, North Orange County ROP, and Health Occupation Students of America to launch a pilot next-gen prevention scholar program at Esperanza High School. Selected students will learn about opioids, their history and relevance today, and they will have the opportunity to attend UCI Medical Center conference, UCI Medical Center at a conference and present what they've learned. This pilot program is designed to expand to other high schools with the goal of building district-wide awareness and empowering students to take an active role in prevention efforts. In conclusion, I'd like to express my gratitude for the chance to speak before you this evening, and I'd be happy to take questions.
I have a question for you. I'm really grateful to see that the overdose deaths for opioids has decreased. Are we also seeing the trend decrease for the illegal opiates in our community as well? That,
So this,
that people are
You
using.
mean students versus just general community?
Well,
You
this
mean
is
supplies are
deaths.
down?
Deaths are down. Is it also like the trend where we're utilizing them, or illegal illicit drugs on those are also going down? Or,
Well, for the presentation, I looked at mostly deaths. I looked at the death rate of it. So are you asking the usage of it? I'm not sure of that answer.
okay.
Completely. The death rates have gone down. In fact, we just received notice from the Sheriff's Department and the coroner report where we're at an all-time low right now, which is wonderful to hear. But I'm not sure maybe I'm making an assumption, but I would think if the usage is going down, the death rate's going down, the usage might be going down
That would
too.
be my assumption.
But I can find out for you.
Okay.
I can get that answer for you, no problem.
Thank you.
I was going to, along the same lines though, I was going to ask the other question is the availability of Narcan the reason for the decline? As opposed to maybe people not using as much, because it's widely available with, obviously in schools, it's not as heavily used, but with law enforcement and all the other overdose.
I mean, I think it's multiple reasons. I think the awareness of it, I think certainly right during COVID, we were seeing that spike, and right in 2021, and it was scaring everybody. The fact that it was being mixed in pills that were easily accessible to young people, and they were getting these thinking that their friends were giving them to them, and that it was, just a Xanax or a Percocet or an Adderall, and it's going to make you feel better, or whatever they were, touting that. And it really wasn't a prescription medication. It was a legal drug that looked eerily similar, if not almost exactly. And so that was really at the height in 2021, and I think so much awareness has been made with that now. And I think it's the awareness, the education, and Narcan. I think it's been everything that has helped.
Did they say the time period? Because I'm also wondering too, we were at the same training in 2022 and Sheriff Barnes did get up and say that it was free flowing over the border, and now that the border's more locked down, I'm wondering if the access isn't quite there. Did they give like this time period?
I did not see
Like the last year it's down or anything like that?
Oh, you mean for coming across the border?
Coming across the border, and then like the death rate and all that thing, like,
Well-
all the variables as to why our death rates have gone down. Because I do remember when he said that, he was very concerned about all the stuff that was coming across the border.
Yeah, and I think they're concerned about there's kratom now that we worry about, and 7-OH, which are other kind of opioids that they're looking at on the horizon now too. So I think we're not done with being careful and vigilant to this. I mean, but the fact that we do have Narcan and it's available, that will reverse even those, is encouraging.
I hadn't heard of the two new ones, so that's
I know,
a bit
sorry. I know,
unnerving.
I threw that out there and you didn't even ask me, huh? It's a freebie for now. I mean, yay.
Yeah, I had no idea.
Well,
So
yeah.
it's a bit frightening that there's still stuff out there, but the fact that we are communicating, we are sharing the information, students are hearing about it, the awareness is almost just as important as having all of the supplies we need. Thank you so much for sharing what you've been doing. I'm sorry about it's got this weird noise.
Okay.
I wish Mrs. Bremer was here so that she could hear. I know she's been. Okay, good, thank you. So that she can, she knows what we're doing as well. It's incredibly important to all of us, I know that, and one death would be horrific and too many. So the
Yes.
more preparation we can do and prevention, the better we can. I appreciate knowing that we have so many people that are trained, and I'm assuming that the majority of them would be at the high school level, not as many at the elementary, because you likely wouldn't have the same need. But the diligence that you all have been putting into this and making sure that it's available to people that need to be trained. I know we can't require people to be trained, but having that opportunity there and that constant conversation about it's really easy and this is how you can and get that is really important. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you for all the information. And I was just, sorry. Just want to say thank you for the information as well. And I hope more staff that sees this hopefully get trained and volunteer to do that because it is really simple. And if I heard correctly at our training that it's almost, even if it's not an opioid, it's not something that if you administer, it's going to harm the student.
That's
So
right.
that's a great to err on the side of caution and have those supplies that we can do that. And I also want to say too that it was startling to hear though too that it's like not required but highly recommended to have the supplies in any school that has 10-year-olds and up. So to hear like 10-year-olds even, that's startling. So to know that we have the gamut of people that are trained is really helpful.
We have Narcan at all of our schools.
Yes.
Elementary, middle, and high school.
Yeah.
In fact, we even have it at the district office. You can walk out
Mhm.
right here and you can see it. Hopefully we
Yeah.
don't see it in action, but
Right,
you
right.
can see it out there.
Yeah, but it's great. It's really makes you feel better that you have that. Thank you.
Now I have a
Thank you.
question.
Sure.
The training that we were at, they gave us Narcan. Are we offering that to the teachers, or is it just at like specific sites? Because my thought would be is that if you get trained on Narcan and we give the Narcan, they can carry it around because the chances are you're around kids, you're around people that you may need it.
So every time we train, because we have enough of a supply, we give a box of Narcan. In
Okay.
fact, the last CPR, we gave 2 boxes of Narcan.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
That should be an incentive to always have it with you.
Yeah. But it's also good to have it at an easily accessible spot as well, so
Yeah.
that we all know exactly where it is.
Yeah, the 2 would be good. One to have in your classroom and then one to have somewhere
Sure.
else.
Yep.
Okay, it's time for Ms. Mejia to give her student board report.
Okay. Good evening, President Anderson, trustees, and Superintendent Dr. Kim. I'm excited to be here tonight to share recent updates from our comprehensive high schools and alternative campuses. Parkview is thrilled to celebrate Andrew Lin, sophomore, for his outstanding achievement at the World Junior Cup held last week. And the Buena Vista Virtual Academy and Parkview School counselor has begun hosting individualized future-ready meetings with their graduating seniors to support their post-high school planning, which will focus on reviewing graduation status, discussing college and career pathways, exploring CTE, community college and university options, and connecting students with financial aid and application resources. El Camino is thrilled with the outstanding turnout at their first annual Fall Festival, where students and families of all ages enjoyed a variety of activities, dinner, and opportunities to connect with El Camino staff. They will be hosting Career Day tomorrow, during which students will attend 2 sessions exploring careers such as manufacturing, nursing, law, automotive technology, culinary arts, tattoo artistry, business, and real estate. Speakers were selected based on student survey feedback, identifying the careers they were most interested in pursuing after graduation. Additionally, several students recently attended a field trip to Fullerton College to explore its career technical education programs and experience firsthand the outstanding opportunities available there. At El Dorado High School, spirit never sleeps, and that was clearer than ever on November 14 during live CBS KCAL news broadcast at 7 a.m., 8 a.m., and 9 a.m. The world-famous Hawks Nest showcase what it truly means to prioritize spirit over status, with support from the amazing public and media relations specialist Lorelai Mesa. Every athletic program, every arts program, student leadership, and Golden Hawks across campus, viewers across Southern California witness a community that is loud, proud, and spirited at any hour of the morning. The El Dorado Theater program is presenting Failure, a Love Story, which can be seen November 20 through November 22 in the Performing Arts Center. The marching band and color guard will again be competing for a medal at this year's SCSBOA championships in the 6A division at Citrus College. Esperanza had an outstanding sports season with their girls volleyball, girls flag football, girls tennis, and 3 girls golf athletes qualifying for the CIF this fall, as well as their girls cross country team making it to the CIF state, which will be competing this weekend. The dual language program hosted a beautiful Dia de los Muertos night on their West Campus, complete with ofrendas, pan de muerto, and an incredible mariachi band. Their cheer team is in the middle of competition season and continues to work hard each weekend as they compete with schools across the state. George Key parents and students enjoyed a fun activity day on November 14, where parents were invited to make fall crafts with their students and listen to a story about Thanksgiving. Sunrise Rotary Club of Yorba Linda will be providing their annual holiday party for George Key students on December 12th from 11:30 to 12:30 in the Key Courtyard, where Santa has promised to visit. Staff will be served a holiday lunch and Venture Choir will sing at this celebration. Lastly, Venture Academy will perform its first musical under the direction of choir director Mrs. Carmen Contrero. The play, titled Santa's Shop, will be performed for families and friends on Tuesday the 16th at Esperanza's Theater at 6:30 p.m. For Valencia High School, the Den was awarded Student Section of the Season for Fall 2025, the highest honor awarded by the Orange County Student Section. Valencia has no better example of high expectations in a nurturing environment than to look at their AP tests. They have over 800 eligible students, and so far 1,885 tests have been sold, covering 29 advanced placement courses. Valencia looks forward to hosting its future academy students on Thursday, December 4th, to learn more about its international baccalaureate, Cambridge and Val Tech program. Okay, lastly, for your Belinda High School, they recently celebrated You Matter Week from November 11 through 14. Throughout this week, students from ASB and Psychology Club and the Mind Over Matter Club organized campus-wide activities designed to promote positivity, connection, and student well-being. As the fall athletics season concludes, your Belinda is proud to recognize 3 league championships earned by Mustang athletes, football, women's cross country, and marking a historic milestone, the school's first ever flag football league title. To close out an exceptional season, the Your Belinda Band and Guard will perform in the Disneyland Holiday Parade on December 12th, sharing their talents at the happiest place on earth. And that concludes my report this evening.
Thank you so much for sharing. What are some of the opportunities that PYLUSD has given you to grow as a student and a leader?
PYUSD has offered me with numerous opportunities to develop as a leader, including my involvement in ASB and my role as a student board member. These experiences have helped me recognize my strengths, expand my skills, and stay open to new challenges and opportunities. On a personal level, PYLUSD, especially El Camino, has supported me in graduating early and encouraged me to pursue my future career goals. This guidance has played a significant role in my growth and readiness for life after high school. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I'm excited to hear what you're going to do with your early graduation.
I am going to encourage you, Kim, to don't let her leave unless you look at her nails. Her nails are on point tonight. They are amazing.
Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Kim for her superintendent report.
Thank you, President Anderson, trustees, and executive cabinet members. I'm going to start with Read for the Record. Over the past few weeks, I've had a wonderful opportunity to experience some of the hallmark traditions that make PYLUSD such a special community. I had the absolute pleasure of attending Read for the Record at Valadez Middle School on October 30th. Each year, Valadez Eagles join with their younger peers from Melrose and Rio Vista Elementary School to celebrate the joys of reading as part of Jumpstart's worldwide literacy event. Read for the Record unites millions of children and caring adults across the globe to read the same book on the same day, reminding us all the power of story and the importance of early literacy. This year's featured book was See Marcus by Marcus Bridgewater, and it was beautifully illustrated by Reggie Brown. 8th grade students paired with their 1st grade buddies to read together. They shared laughter, built connection through the book. Every Melrose and Rio Vista student went home with their own copy of the story to read and share with their family. It was a heartwarming morning that perfectly reflected the spirit of our schools, and I'm already looking forward to next year's celebration. And thank you to President Anderson and many of the extended cabinet team that were there to celebrate in that as well. It was wonderful to see those 1st graders just huddle up right next to their 8th graders and watch the 8th graders who had clearly practiced that book because their inflections were on point and they were animated and they were having a great time. The band pageant at Bradford Stadium was also a spectacular display of talent, energy, and pride. We had over 3,000 guests in attendance. Our middle school and high school bands, color guards, dance team, and identification units showcased their artistry and teamwork in a truly inspiring way. I'm grateful to our exceptional music teachers and staff who dedicate countless hours to nurturing our students' skills and love for the performing arts. And I greatly appreciated the drum solo I got. That was really fun. Orange County Teacher of the Year. I attended the 2026 Teacher of the Year Gala hosted by the Orange County Department of Education and sponsored by Schools First Federal Credit Union at the Disneyland Hotel Grand Ballroom. More than 60 of Orange County's finest teachers were recognized for their extraordinary impact on student and school communities. We're incredibly proud that 2 of our very own, Rod Boas from Valencia High School, go ahead, and Vicky Corral from Fairmont Elementary School were among those celebrated. Thank you to Representative Buck and Quintero for being there as well to help celebrate our teachers that evening. Academic functions. I now have 8 schools left to visit. I'm confident I'm going to reach each site by winter break. Being on campus, meeting with staff, talking with students, connecting with principals remain a top priority for me, and it's the part of the work I love the most. These visits, along with recent professional learning sessions, continue to highlight the strength, collaboration, and dedication that defines PYL. As I've engaged in conversations across the district and begun preliminary analysis of our data and systems, several key academic focus areas have emerged. The need to strengthen systems and support and help educators address post-pandemic student behaviors and ensure students' social and emotional well-being. A shared commitment among site and district leaders to continue building strong relationships, positive climate, and a culture that supports staff and students. The importance of aligning district structures in a way that serves schools and improves student outcomes. Finding the right balance between system-wide coherence and site-level autonomy. Prioritizing equity, closing achievement gaps, and ensuring resources are aligned to support every learner in our district. While these themes have emerged through my school visits and conversations, it's equally important that we hear from all stakeholders about our strengths, opportunities for improvement, and priorities for the future. The voices of students, family, teachers, support staff, and leaders are essential as we chart a thoughtful and collaborative path forward. To support this work, we're going to partner with 2 education leaders that I've had the fortunate opportunity to work with in the past, Renee Nicothotis and Dr. Candace Pelt-Perez, who have both worked with me in previous districts I've been in, who are also full-time employed elsewhere, so they're not coming, they're just coming as a favor to me to help out. Their role will be to identify strengths, lift up effective practices, highlight opportunities for growth. Their insights will help inform our planning, guide our next steps, and help shape the recommendations we bring forward as a part of our strategic planning process. I also want to provide a brief update on the 2026-27 school calendar. First, I want to acknowledge openly and directly this calendar has been released later than anyone wanted to or anticipated. We recognize that proposed shifts generated both support and strong concerns from students, family, and staff. I've personally heard from and listened to feedback from teachers, classified staff, leaders, and parents, and I want to express my appreciation for their honesty, their advocacy, and caring for our students. Our staff has also shared concerns related to adjusting professional development schedules, the impact on curriculum adoption timelines, and ensuring that employees feel well prepared and supported. These concerns are valid and they matter. Inheriting this calendar midstream, I will say, has been a bit of a challenge. I have worked to listen, to hear, to ask questions, to seek to understand. I think lack of feedback or feedback that was 50-50 split led many people to feel a bit paralyzed, not quite knowing what to do going forward. I do want to thank Gloria Johnson, Chris Lawyer, Brittany Brown, Jeremy Kelly, Janine Hill, Wendy Canfield, and Sonia Matsumoto for participating in a meeting yesterday, really looking at the proposed calendar and what it would do in terms of the impact on students, the impact on staff, and how we can look at that calendar and figure out what's in the best interest of everyone involved. I will tell you, calendar is the most thankless job in a school district. Just saying. Anything we do, it's going to be difficult on someone. And when we change it, it's definitely difficult. I will say I appreciate greatly the people who met with me this week to really look at, is there a way to change things? And I would say in 2 hours, what we walked away with is a realization that anything we change changes something else on the other side. And so while they did bring forward a recommendation that no one loved, I want to say that on the record, what we did say is this is what we could live with for now, given where we are at the time frame we're in, giving our families and our staff ample opportunity from this point forward to plan. What I also committed to was that we would request feedback about what we would like for a future calendar to look like. We're going to do a comprehensive survey of our community. That means parents, that means staff, that means students. The people who live publicly live the calendar out each and every day. Sorry about that. And when we survey folks, we want live data that people can see, that folks can really look at. The questions we're asking around, do you want to start before Labor Day? Do you want to end by Memorial Day? Do you want a full week before Christmas, or would you rather most of the time be after Christmas? When do you want your spring break, in March or in April? As we have that survey data out there and available, we will bring together a committee that will spend its time looking at all of the feedback and then build a proposed calendar to bring back to this board by the end of this school year, so that when adopted, we will have a 3-year roadmap that families and staff can plan from. So that's my commitment that I made to the group of people who gave their time, and that's my commitment I'm making to this board for the work that we're going to do. We plan to present these calendars, I would say by June 1. That's the goal, so that folks have it and can prepare from it. Yes, sir. For now, we've charted a path forward, and by the end of the week, I'm planning to share the calendar for the 26-27 school year, provided I have your blessing and your consensus that it is time to get it out to our community and to our staff so folks can plan, with conceding that it's not perfect and it's not going to be, but we will go through a comprehensive process that people feel good about. So are you comfortable with us putting that out? Yes.
In regards to the calendar, I just feel like, and I have taken this position because a lot of community has come forward. I'll support whatever the majority wants, but personally, I think a lot of people that have reached out, they have planned vacations, they've spent a lot of money, and I just think it's so late. So if everyone wants the calendar changed, I support whatever the majority wants to do, the majority of the community, teacher, staff, for those 3 years. But I just think my thought is no, to leave it as is, just because it's so late in the planning.
I also agree with that. It's I know that we want to make some shifts, and we want it to make it equitable for high school and impact the APs in a positive way, and work with all of the stakeholders. But the fact that we've taken so long to do this, people have planned vacations, they have things already on their trajectory. That makes it really hard. And I've heard from lots and lots of people that are upset that we've made that decision will be made so late in the game. So my preference would be to wait and keep going as is, mimic what we did this year, and build in that 3-year where we're getting all of the available information. I love the plan. I wish we could have started that plan about 6 months ago, because we would be in a different place. But I've heard from so many people that I am not comfortable with that. I am comfortable with whatever the majority decides. We'll never make people happy or make everybody happy. And I understand that. So I do think that the schedule needs to be changed, but I'm resistant this year just because of timing. So thank you.
I think we need to stop talking about the calendar, but that's just me. I think we're to the point where, like you said in your meetings, that if you move one thing, it moves another thing, and then it's a chain reaction. And we've got something set that can go. I think we just need to go with it, and then do your plan moving forward for the next 3 years, because it's just. Are we really still talking about this? Let's go.
You know, can I jump in too? And there's been so much confusion as to how this even came forward. And just so everybody knows, this was not anybody up here. This was actually an email. Somebody asked to put it on the agenda. And so it was placed on the agenda. And so people said, who did this? And I was like, not me. It must have been them. And, people pointing. And so like literally, so that's kind of how this all came about. It wasn't, any member of the board, directing this or having any of this. So that I think that needs to be clear to the community as well. This was placed on the agenda because a single community member wanted it placed on. So just so the confusion out there stops.
I agree with Mr. Frazier. I think it's just time to move on. It's not perfect. Nobody is happy with this. Some people are, but the late timing I think is problematic. But I think the fixes that this calendar will solve outweigh that, and so that's why I think it's time to move on. We've been talking about this calendar since Mike Matthews was our acting superintendent, and we and it's been evolving, and I really am looking forward to going through this process with Dr. Kim. I think I think we have a solid path forward where we're actually going to get solid feedback and move forward and be able to meet our community's needs as well. So I think it's time to move forward.
And I want to say thank you, too, for the reassurance that we can re-examine this early next year and get those 3 years out and have the transparent feedback from all stakeholders as well. And having you pretty much guarantee that process will be done with everyone really helps, I think, with next year's and kind of what we can learn from this year.
And I will, even before Kim, you jumping in on this, Yolanda did so much work to try and get all the pieces to fit, and finally got something to fit, and then it's like, well, wait, no, people are saying we don't like it. So I just thank you for all your work. Kim, thank you for all your work, and I look forward to the full process happening for the next time.
I do second that. Yolanda, you were kind of victim of the calendar, so we're sorry.
Yeah.
But you did a lot of work, and so we thank you. You've worked really hard since you've been here, and I think that the community needs to know how much you've done for us.
Mm-hmm.
You too, Joan. But
I was going to say Joan as well.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. I think
And I'm glad that you've both decided
John's
to
going to
stay.
have big shoes to fill.
Thank you all for saying that, and you're right. The time and energy that Yolanda did put into this really made a significant difference, so thank you. Our goal is to restore predictability, improve communication, and ensure future calendars reflect the needs and the voices of our PYL community. I'm committed to the process that will do that. Lastly, Thanksgiving is approaching. Get your turkey if you haven't already. I want to extend my heartfelt gratitude to everyone in the PYL community. To our students, thank you for your hard work, your curiosity, and your perseverance. To our dedicated staff, thank you for your unwavering commitment to educating, inspiring, and supporting our learners. To our families and community partners, thank you for your partnership, trust, and continuous support, which makes our shared success possible. And from my family to yours, I wish you a warm and joyful Thanksgiving filled with gratitude, meaningful connection, and happiness. And that concludes my report.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kim. Okay, now we're moving on to board discussions. And the first one is California Republic Leadership Academy, CRLA. And I'm going to read this. On October 28th, 2025, the district received a Proposition 39 request from the California Republic Leadership Academy, CRLA, requesting facilities from the district. CRLA is a charter school that was authorized by the Orange County Board of Education and is currently located at 5401 Fairmont Boulevard, Yorba Linda, California, 92886. CRLA submitted a Prop 39 request for facilities to the district last year, but did not meet the requirements to be entitled to district facility. It is again requesting and seeking district facilities for the 26-27 year. CRLA's 26-27 request seeks facilities to serve grades TK through 8, and they are also asking for classrooms, outdoor play space, a cafeteria, NPR, small meeting rooms for special education, and want space for its after-school program. CRLA requests does not state a specific site it wishes to be located on, but states its preference to be located on one site within the city of Yorba Linda. The district is in the process of reviewing and analyzing CRLA's request and will provide its response on or by the statutory deadline of December 1st, 2025. Following that, submissions, the parties will follow the statutory deadlines and process through and including May 2026 as required by law. So we just wanted to let our community know what has been given to us and what process it follows. Anybody else want to?
Yeah, and just to know that this is just the start of a process that could be lengthy and there's no decision to be made at this time.
Yeah.
I also think that we should point out too that the space being used at Esperanza by Magnolia only has 5 students, and so I want to make sure that when people are approving, space that we're honoring. Magnolia said they were going to have how much? A couple hundred students over there, and we spent all this money at Esperanza because we were forced to.
Yeah.
And now we have 5 students there. So that was crappy for us because you're forced to spend the money to give them the space, to upgrade your buildings, to do all these things because they promised that they would have X amount of students, and they literally have 5 students on the campus. So Prop 39 is not something that's actually good for school districts. Sometimes it's good for a charter school, and I'm for school choice. I support charter schools, but sitting here and spending all this money and having Magnolia only have 5 kids on a campus is just very disheartening, and we kind of feel like we were lied to. And I contacted the Orange County Board of Education, and they were unaware as well that there was only 5 students at Magnolia. So they kind of were operating under different pretenses as well when they approve things. So I don't know if there's a way to have some of these charter schools, when they're doing their Prop 39 requests, be more honest. But that's kind of where we are. So the rumors are true. There's only 5 students at Magnolia, but we'll see what the CRLA tells us. So
I'll just piggyback onto that. The issue is that we were never given the choice as a board. It's a countywide charter, and so now it's being imposed on us, which is unfortunate. So those of you who are upset about this or could be upset about this as this moves forward, please make sure that Orange County Board of Ed knows that we would like to have the first right to be able to approve those. Thank you.
Next, we're going to have our board discussion on legal counsel, and I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Kim.
Thank you, President Anderson. I requested that this be put as a discussion item, as you all know, I had shared recently some data with you all from 2018 to current. Thank you to Ms. Velasco for helping me put that together. Looking at what our trend has been as far as the need for whether it's legal representation or legal counsel to help us navigate things either in special education realm, personnel realm. There are many different aspects to running a school district that involve legal. And in looking at that, having been in a number of districts in my prior experiences where we had in-house legal counsel and looking at the costs involved, I wanted to make the recommendation that we consider having our own team of attorneys. We could actually have an attorney that has an expertise in special education and one that has K-12 public education experience. And between the salaries and benefits of the two staff members still come out ahead compared to what our costs have been. And I just don't see that changing over time dramatically. That's just not the world we live in anymore. In a post-pandemic world, there are significant needs to make sure that we have that input and that support. And so my request of you all is to just talk through an interest and or what you would be comfortable with in terms of my team and I pursuing going with in-house legal counsel. And obviously they still have to have some retainer capability because there are expertise areas that sometimes come up that they do need to confer with someone else. But I still believe that based on what I'm seeing, that we would be smarter and making more of an economical decision if we look at having our own that are looking out for the best interest of PYL, rather than firms that certainly have a great deal of expertise, but they serve and represent many different school districts, and ours isn't always the top priority, especially given our size and given our unique needs. So I just want to open that up for discussion with you all.
Yeah, I think when you brought this up, this actually makes a lot of sense to me, just from a financial standpoint. But I think also logically, it seems to me like someone that would be interested in taking that position would be someone that would be they would be doing that for more of a purpose of a why as opposed to a billable hour. And that's always the question when you get outside counsel is are they doing this because it's billable and that's the reason, or do they care about the outcome? So that's one of the big reasons that I like the financial aspect, but I really like the in-house counsel why potential that I think would be more beneficial to us, and then still having the ability to get outside counsel at retainer rates for specific situations like charter schools and things like that, which that's never going to go away. But I think we can be more efficient, and I like this idea a lot personally.
I do as well. I think a lot of districts are going this direction, like you said, financially, and just because there's so many needs nowadays for specific areas. I like the idea that someone will be in-house, employed by the district that we can have here, that's here all the time, maybe all the time, but here when we need them. Not necessarily waiting to get a phone call returned or email returned. Someone you can just go down the hallway and ask a question to is a lot more convenient than having a big general law firm. So yeah, I agree with it. I think it's a great idea, and I think it's a logical step, like I said, financially and just to help us with things in the district as well.
I support it completely. In fact, there's a lot of water boards and city councils who are actually quite surprised that we don't have in-house counsel. They say, wait a second, you don't have, in-house. And I said, no. And they said, that's so strange because they have that. So I think that you're right, it's a less expensive option. It's also more convenient for you to be able to just walk next door. We're not waiting, on a list of 10 or 12 schools if we have something pressing. And it's a less expensive option. It's I just think it's good. And also too, I don't know if anybody pointed out, but a lot of times when they're working, with us and with our community and with our schools, there's a lot more vested into the success of our district. So I absolutely agree.
One question, sorry, it just came to me now. You're not talking about like an executive cabinet position. You're talking about just in-house legal counsel. Would that be where would that land in that
Typically, your legal counsel is part of your cabinet because
Okay.
they advise your cabinet and they advise the board. And so
Got it.
in my experience, they typically are in every board meeting. They're available if we need to ask a question in mainstream, in midstream, I should say, that they're available to us. They're here because they're on staff. And to your point, the why piece really comes at, I'm working for this school district because I see the outcome of the work I do in a very different way. Yeah.
Thank you for bringing this forward and providing all of the backup information and all the detail, because it really does show what we can do if we think in a more strategic way. I think that our representation has been great, but when you look at the numbers, just the dollar amount that you're putting into it, for me, it's all about dollars. Yeah, I mean, it really is. It's only going up, and being able to have somebody in-house would be great. I'm familiar with that formula through my dad's work. He had an in-house legal and special ed. I don't know of any other districts in Orange County that have these. We're kind of the beginning of that anomaly, I think, but we're on the higher end or the higher number side of students, so I can see this probably falling in place in other places, especially with special ed. So if you break out the special ed with everything else, you really can see a whole salary in each of those areas. I think that our representation, I've been working with AALRR and for the whole time I've been on the board, mostly, and other attorneys, and we have good attorneys in Orange County, but the fact is, when it comes to the dollar amount, it speaks for itself. So I appreciate getting all the information so that we can make a really informed decision.
When you look at how many different firms we have contracts with, I think streamlining, and if we can bring it in-house and try to reduce that, I think not only will it help reduce the cost, but it will also have that consistency, and they'll be able to know more. So I'm interested to see how this transpires and learning more as we go through the process.
I've reached out to folks who do serve in this role in districts to get job descriptions that exist for folks and to begin to look at what could this look like, what's the right market value. And I do know I am not the only superintendent in California who is now asking this question and looking, because the costs, to your point, are not going down. And, when it costs you $850 to have a memo written, there's just, it's not sustainable. And so by having folks that have that capability, that are a part of our team, that just makes a very big difference to how we can approach the work.
Thank you. Okay, moving on. Okay. Doesn't matter. How many do we have? Okay. We have 4 public comments tonight, so each speaker will have 3 minutes. Sure. Our first speaker is Karen Alexic, Sue Sawyer, and then Karen Nartzer. Thank you for the phonetics. And then last one is Julie Hyman. Karen, you're first.
Good evening, board. Is this on? Okay. Good evening, board, Dr. Kim, and executive cabinet. My name is Karen Alexic. I'm a teacher at Breakhaven Elementary School. And I was just sitting home the other day, and I started thinking it's November. It's the month to be thankful. So I wanted to get up here and just talk about things I'm thankful for and give some appreciation to people that I found being very helpful. So I first want to thank you very much for the new language arts adoption. I am loving it very much. And part of that thankfulness is for Kim Schultz. She put in a lot of hard work to help us pilot, get it off the ground, and she's still there offering support to us. The other person I wanted to thank is our librarian, our school librarian at Brookhaven. Her name is Tammy Clark. She is amazing. A student can go up to her and ask her anything, and she'll go, I know a great book for that. And she can tell you about every single book in there. I'm like, wow, I think you have read more books than I have. And it's just amazing. She's so positive. The kids love her. And along the same lines, I want to thank our PTA at Brookhaven. So shout out to Brookhaven PTA, because they helped her have a wonderful, beautiful library. I think Mrs. Buck and Mrs. Anderson may have visited. Was it last year that it opened up? So we're very proud of it, but it's a wonderful place for the students to go. They're welcome there during recess. They like to just hang out, some of those kids who don't like the playground. And so I'm just thankful for all the parents that have helped create that space for our students. And I want to thank Jeremy. This is a last minute one. He helped me during your closed session with an Aries problem. So thank you, Jeremy, for taking your time.
Have to get the 3-minute version. Good evening, members of the board. My name is Sue Sawyer, and I'm a proud Apple member. I'm taking the superintendent's advice to tell people that I appreciate them in a very public setting. It is both an honor and a joy to speak about Mrs. April Treese from Valadez Middle School Academy, a teacher whose dedication, innovation, and heart have left an incredible mark on our school community. Through her leadership and creativity, April has completely transformed our physical education program. At many middle schools, getting students to dress out for PE can be a daily challenge, but April saw a chance to change that. She implemented a loaner program that allows students to borrow clean uniforms when they forgot their own. This small but powerful innovation has changed everything. Participation has skyrocketed, grades have improved, and students are healthier, more confident, and more engaged in physical activity. Instead of being penalized, they're now empowered to succeed. April's impact doesn't stop there. She's taken our SOAR homeroom program, which focuses on student agency, language skills, and study habits, and turned it into one of the most effective support systems in our district. The lessons give students opportunities to reflect, catch up on work, and build essential life skills. Our version of SOAR has become a model of excellence that other schools should aspire to emulate. What truly sets April apart is her tireless dedication to students. She spends her prep periods, breaks, and weekends developing new curriculum, refining lessons, and finding new ways to connect with kids. She does it not for recognition, but because she genuinely believes our students deserve the very best. April Treese's warmth, professionalism, and integrity have shaped the positive, respectful culture at Valadez Middle School Academy. She embodies the spirit of excellence, collaboration, and innovation that defines the Placentia-Yorba Unified School District. Our school and our district are stronger because of her. April Treese is not just an exceptional teacher. She is a transformational leader who changes lives every single day. Switching topics, I know I say it often, but there is a huge thank you to the incredible technology department at PYLUSD for an awesome start to the school year. They're the unsung heroes doing so much behind the scenes to keep everything running smoothly. From quick notifications to constant support, you have been phenomenal. I know there's a lot more than this, but Jeremy Powell, Brandon Gooch, and Scott Wynn, and the entire crew, we can't do this without them, and we're exceptionally grateful for all of the tech standards, sans the clock that's not working. But we know that will get fixed very quickly. So, thank you, appreciate it.
Good evening. I'm here with a plan to help our district thrive, boosting enrollment and serving students who we're currently losing. On my school tours across other districts, I found a consistent theme. I kept meeting other families from our district, from our schools, and the families were seeking something that our district currently does not yet offer. So what were these other schools? They were full. They were at capacity, and there were waiting lists to get in. Who were these students? Most of them were gifted, actually. But they were also neurodivergent. So these kids have ADHD, autism, or what educators call behavior issues. So the reality is 1 in 9 kids have ADHD. 1 in 31 have autism. And you guys know in California, it's down to 1 in 12 boys. The demand is the highest that it's ever been.
When underserved, the financial cost is high through lawyers and settling and special education, as mentioned earlier. And most importantly, the children's mental health is impacted. We have a GATE program, but gifted does not mean high producing. We have a special education department, but autism means different, not less. I am advocating for a K-6 specialized school for neurodivergent learners, a place where spiraling thoughts aren't a problem but a gift, where sensory needs are respected, executive function is supported, and creativity is unleashed. Let's stop losing these brilliant minds, and let's build a space where difference is not a deficit but a doorway to discovery. Thank you for your time.
Good evening. My name is Julie Hyman. I very much appreciate the opportunity to address you all this evening. I am the Director of Policy, Legal, and Government Affairs. I am for JCAN, which is a small community group that's based in the Jewish Community Center. I am, as you probably heard me stumble over my own title, I am new to this role. Until last month, I was an attorney with the Department of Justice, and I apologize. It sounds like attorneys ruin a lot of things. And I'm here not as an attorney. I'm here as a member of the community in Orange County. Our organization is focused on maintaining the safety of the community for Jewish residents, as pertinent here, Jewish students. And it's strange to me to consider that I'm in this role now because I came here to this country as a refugee from the Soviet Union, escaping anti-Semitism. And now I know it to be the case that in schools in Orange County, there are Jewish kids who are hiding their identity from their classmates. And so I'm here this evening to ask, I know that the board is about to consider changes to the ethnic studies curriculum. And it's a place that ethnic studies curriculum can be uplifting to everyone in the community if it's done right. And I just want to urge caution and the opportunity to engage if the board does proceed with changes, because even with something as well-intentioned as a program like that, if it's executed in the wrong way, even with good intentions, the results can be really troubling. And so, for example, I don't know if you all are familiar with what happened in Santa Ana, but there were some hints of troubling curriculum kind of coming down the pipe there. And there was a lawsuit, and then in discovery, it was found that actually some of the worst fears of the Jewish community were realized kind of behind closed doors. There were emails actually saying, let's do this at a time when the Jews won't be able to see what we're doing, quite literally. And really ugly things were coming into the curriculum. And it manifests in schools. There was, just very briefly, in an Orange County school, a child made a list on a day of rage that had been declared obviously outside the school district, but made a list of students to target that included Jewish kids who, again, felt like they had to hide who they were. So I ask for your partnership in making sure that nothing like that can happen here. I was so moved by the warm comments expressing gratitude here. It's a wonderful community, and I just ask for your partnership in keeping it that way. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody, for coming out tonight and speaking. Okay, now we are moving to our general functions. And I need a motion.
I'll make a motion to establish Board Policy 6144.1, exemptions from required instruction, first reading.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion from Mrs. Blades, a second by Mrs. Buck. And I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Kim to speak. Oh.
Thank you, President Anderson. Last month, we had a great conversation really talking through an interest in maybe learning a bit from some other districts who have looked at beyond religious exemptions, which is a policy that we do have that you all worked really hard on in our district, to look at, are there other opportunities for a family, should they choose, having deeply held personal beliefs, to opt their child out of a particular learning experience. And it was a conversation around what are the right parameters and how do we do this in a way that still honors our staff, that meets the law, that still allows our students to meet grad requirements and state standards. In front of you, you have a revised version of that. Part of it was I put it together, I had conversation with legal counsel, and then I sent to them what I had put together as a part of our discussion, and they recommended a few more changes. So the version that is in front of you actually is titled Opportunities for Alternate Assignments or Activities. Within it, you still have purpose, you still have request procedures. It really speaks to kind of the why. If a family has deeply held personal beliefs or personal experiences, it speaks to the request procedure in terms of how they would request this opt-out. It also speaks to parameters that the board really wanted spelled out in the policy around it will be denied if it is coming from a place of discrimination, or it asks to opt out of graduation requirements, or it asks to opt out of state standards. And then finally, student alternative activity, recognizing that alternative activity will offer a student independently, whether it's reading, whether it's sitting in the library, whether it's playing on their own, using iReady, practicing skills. But what was important is that we also acknowledge that we aren't going to ask our staff to come up with a whole new activity or a whole new learning experience for students. We are willing to grant the option, but we are going to ask that it be an independent activity that a student engages in, if that makes sense to you. And I am bringing this to you all kind of a second time around because I got feedback, and because it was such a brand new ask of the board. I've worked with our legal counsel, and the proposal here for first reading is up for discussion and for your input.
The one question, obviously, not obviously, the one thing that I go to is someone makes a request and it gets denied, right? That's obviously part of the process. Do we have something in place? I don't see it in here for an appeal or a restatement of the objection. Is that in there? Okay.
I did not put it directly in the policy, given that there's always if someone wants to appeal the decision of someone in our district, there's a policy that says you go to the next higher up and then the superintendent. And obviously, if folks don't like my answer, then they come to you. Ultimately, it comes to the board.
Yeah.
And that's more of an appeal process policy, not something that's true to only this policy.
So the general appeal process, complaint, whatever, would be along the same lines with this policy as well.
That was an assumption I made, and if folks want it written in explicitly in the same way that folks ask me for other things, we can do that. We can write that in, that this is how you appeal the process, but it is a part of the complaint process within our district.
Does this also apply for, this is obviously, it says deeply held personal beliefs or personal experiences. Does this also pertain to religious beliefs as well, like the same opt-out things?
There is a separate religious policy that you all adopted previously that does still apply. This is separate from a religious reason or a root of religion as the foundation for why you're asking for the opt-out.
Right, I'm saying, but is it similar? Are we going to have two similar processes now? Are they going to coincide? Because it kind of seems like it's kind of the same thing. Deeply held personal beliefs and the religious beliefs. Is it going to be the same process for each one? Because it kind of seems like it's similar.
It's similar. It's not the exact same, but it is similar.
The question I had posed before was in the purpose paragraph. It says deeply held personal beliefs or personal experiences, but the rest of the paragraph basically discusses personal experiences. So is there a need, because Trustee Blades had said, it's so deeply held personal beliefs are so close to the religious opt-out. Can we take is it appropriate to take that out and just leave it as personal experiences? Is that an option, or would that make it more separate? I
guess I was just curious, and I didn't get to watch the whole board meeting. I kind of got the Cliff Notes version, but I'm just curious as to why there's two. If the religious beliefs and the deeply personal beliefs, if they're kind of like the same, how come it's not? I mean, I understand there's religious and then the deeply personal beliefs. I was just making sure that is the process the same, because, you know, when you're explaining it to people in the community, and it's like, well, I want to opt out because of this, and it's like, well, is it my religious beliefs or my personal? I mean. So that was kind of my question.
We had a discussion about making it separate because of the Mahmood decision. It was very much tied to religious, and this wasn't.
Mhm.
And so making those separate, so it was more defined. It's kind of where we went.
But my question is kind of the same. So if I tell people, it's pretty much the same.
Yes. They
But
just have
religious, I think we discussed this last month, religious has a higher standard in our country.
Mhm.
Religious beliefs have more protections, and they're separate, so that's why we separated it out. That was the consensus of the board.
So if a parent wants to opt out, they should just come to you with a religious belief exemption, because that's a higher. I mean, that's basically what we're
No, this was saying that this would
But this is
also
more broad.
qualify.
This is more broad.
So
This is actually better in that scenario.
Right. I'm just.
And with the changing interpretations of the religious beliefs
Yeah,
policy
because-
as well, we didn't want to mesh the two because that one's ever changing. So this would kind of have to change with
My
that one if
comment
we
was
had
to leave it in the last one. That was.
Yeah, but we figured a separate one would be a little bit more clear and would not have to change if the Mahmood decision or interpretations changed.
As they're going to evolve, I'm sure.
I do think that Mahmood is probably an ever-changing landscape, whereas this would allow you to continue to have a root of we're honoring and respecting parental choice
Mhm.
and trying to be real clear about when you can apply that and what that means.
Right.
I think for me, I really like this policy because one of the most frequently asked questions I get is, I don't want my child to read this novel. And it's for a lot of different reasons. Sometimes it's religious, but most of the time it has to do with situations in their family or mental health issues. Are their child's not mature enough? There's all those reasons, and they're like, how do I do it? And, and this lays it out completely. And it's clear, and it tells them what to do, and they don't have to do that. Go to the teacher and kind of work that out. It goes straight to the principal, and the superintendent, or their designee, approves or denies it. And I really like this because it's just really clear. It's not for discriminatory reasons. They can't, opt out, requested exemption for a graduation requirement or a state standard. It just, and it doesn't mess with the California Healthy Youth Act opt-out procedures that are already in place that we've been doing for several years.
I think to be real clear here, I feel like it's like 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. Let me slow down. But the real difference is that this policy doesn't require notification. That's where the difference is that the other policy means you would have to give notification within 2 weeks of the subject coming up. In this scenario, in this policy, it's just you don't necessarily have to notify because it's broadly covering everything. Like, that's the point of this, which, I mean, the parent wants to opt out, I'm good with it. Parents should have the right to have choice. The only difference is that we don't have to notify in this policy versus the other.
Okay, that was what
That's
the
why.
distinction was.
Yeah,
there we
that's the
go.
difference.
There we go. Dr. Kim, I think that this is brilliant of you to bring this forward because I think this is exactly what parents are looking for. And I think that this is good. It gives, you're not comfortable with something. Okay. You can go read another book or you can go do a different activity while this is done. And so I really think that this is a good a good thing for our district and for the parents. And then, one thing too that I did want to bring up is, as we're talking about religious and like deeply held personal beliefs, I kind of feel like we've been having some stuff at some of our school sites, and like they're talking about like religious ceremonies and different things that have been going on. Like one school is saying a PTA has mandated that you cannot have Christmas trees, like on napkins, and like, they've kind of said all these things because it's religious. And I actually was at a seminar and they talked about this type of what is actually allowed in public schools and what is not, and how we could actually be in violation of the law if we have PTAs and we have people saying certain things. And so actually it's free, and I thought it was very helpful. It's called the respectproject.net, and it's free, and it's basically a review of the federal guidance on religious expression in public schools. And so it talks about, like, I had no idea that there were standards, like 6th, 7th, 8th grade standards, that you can actually tell a child you could talk about a religion, you can talk about certain things, and that's actually part of California state standards. And I think it's been there since 1996 or somewhere, like it was either 1996 or 2016. There was a 6 at the end of it. But I think it was like very enlightening, because we talk about, kids and being respectful of each other. And I feel like we have all these religions that are, in our school district, but do we actually understand each other? So maybe understanding what we can actually teach, what we could actually talk about in the classroom, what kids could actually, you might have, you're able to pose questions that teachers may not know about religions and certain things, and they could write an essay about their religion and their experience and stuff. And I was just really shocked as to everything that actually is allowed in the classroom that has been taboo. And I also, too, with people, putting these guidelines in place that we could actually be sued for. As parents are complaining, hey, why can't we have a Christmas tree? Or why can't I have this? Why can't I bring this? Why can't I pass out this in the classroom? Why can't I do this? When the federal, I'm having PTA or I'm having a school site say I can't, but federal law actually says I can. So I just wanted to bring that up as we were talking about this, because I think we actually maybe should be looking into this as part of, this religion and this personal beliefs and things like that, like what actually is allowed and what does federal law actually allow us to do. So I think this is all great, and I'm very excited for these policies.
So, thank you for bringing back some more clear language. When you first proposed this, I was a little nervous about it. I appreciate you going and talking to legal about it and getting some language that made more sense to the parents, but also made it more clear. I think that this provides a framework for a good partnership with parents, which is what we want. I think I like how we have the denial requests that are in there. That was very specific for me. I wanted to make sure that that was clear, so thank you for adding that. And then also the addition of making sure that teachers don't have to create a whole separate curriculum. This is a choice, and students can do some independent work or catch up on homework, and it creates a nice balance. Because this language has changed, I'm assuming that we'll bring it back for a second read. Yeah.
Tonight's only a first read.
Okay.
Do we have consensus to move on with the revised version?
I prefer the revised version.
Yeah, I'm good with the revised version.
Revised is
Okay.
better.
I do also want to make one more point. As I pointed out, the difference between the religious opt-out and this is the religious opt-out, we are required to notify prior to that curriculum coming out. This doesn't absolve us from that. That is still required. So anything that has to do with gender identity and all of those things that are listed in the Mahmoud ruling and religious practices in general, we still are required to notify. This just gives parents an extra option if it's something that doesn't necessarily fall under those guidelines, that they can have a choice. So I just wanted to make sure that we're we're all
We're
speaking the
required
same
to
language.
require opt-out for certain things.
Yes.
This takes it to, you can opt out for other
Yes,
things.
additional. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do we
I'm
need?
okay.
I would
We
almost
still need
say
to vote.
let's make a motion to waive it because I think this needs to go into effect now, just because of some of the issues that we've been having at the school sites. I think that this could really take care of some issues, and it could cover us. Because I think this needs to be done probably sooner than later.
I think we bring it back for second
think,
reading
yeah, just to be
specifically
safe.
because all the language has changed in it, and the community needs a chance to read it and weigh in.
Yeah, I agree. I think it should go in its place as quick as possible, but because the community hasn't seen the revised version, we just want to be transparent and let them know, so.
But what about legal protections for us?
We have that in Mahmood. This is extra.
I don't know if we have that in Mahmood right now.
Well, we have the requirements from Mahmood.
Mahmood.
This is extra to give our parents more choice. So
This is just for parent
I agree
choice.
with you. I think I'm good with it now, but we're only two.
Very true.
Okay, so all in favor?
Of what?
Of what?
Well, we had a consensus that we were talking about the second one,
So
the updated version.
we're voting on.
We're voting on the updated version, and it's just a first reading.
Okay. So should we be voting on this then?
That's how
As
we've
amended?
always done it.
I do have a question about the denial. When we make the denial, and it talks about the discrimination part, how are we? I guess that would be if we have an attorney on staff to make some of those recommendations. So it wouldn't fall on you, or it wouldn't fall on the principal to make those determinations. It would our attorney who is down the hall
Would advise.
will be able to say yay or nay. All right.
And it's all based on education code, which is listed here.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying I wouldn't want to put a principal or our superintendent making these calls, and that's why I wanted to understand it. We're going to be handing it off to an attorney. Okay, perfect.
I'm still unclear what we're voting on. If we're tabling it for a second reading.
Well, it's not really tabling. We still do the first reading and then we bring it back for the second.
It's a weird,
We're voting to say do this.
bring it back.
But
to
do
bring it
it-
back,
reading,
that
for
we're going to
second
move
reading.
on with this for a second reading.
I think
This
what I
version.
understand is you're voting to bring the amended version
Yes.
back for a second reading.
Yes.
We're voting, all right. We're
That's
And
what I
there's not
understand.
going to probably be any changes to it, so we'll vote on it
again.
But
again.
the community hasn't seen this amended version, so
cool.
they need to see it.
That's cool.
Yeah.
They're gonna love it. You're gonna love it.
Okay. All in favor? Aye. Okay, that's 5-0 with an aye from our student board member. Okay, now we're moving to 17.2.
I'll make a motion, we revise board policy 5113, attendance and excuses, first reading.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mrs. Buck, a second by Mr. Frazier, and we'll turn it over to Mrs. Gray.
Okay, thank you very much. So this is a first reading and of the board policy, attendance and excused absences. And we're aligning our policy to Ed Code 48205. And while the policy itself highlights a lot of different legal requirements for excused absences, the detailed categories will be in the AR, such as absences related to military families and so forth. Those will all be addressed in the AR. Okay. You have any questions or discussion?
This needed to be updated. I like it. It's good.
Oh, okay.
I have some questions.
I'm fine just to put it through right now.
Stop it. Stop it. We have to have a second reading.
Okay, I have a couple questions.
Okay.
When it says, in the paragraph where it says, when a student's absence,
Which
so it's the third paragraph down, I believe.
third paragraph down? Do you have this?
When when a student's absent.
Yes, got it.
The third
Uh-huh.
highlighted.
Yep.
When I read that, it's a very long sentence, and I was wondering if we could break it up into two sentences. So it would read more like, when a student's absence from school is excused, the teacher of the class from that student is absent shall determine identical or reasonable equivalent assignments and tests missed during the absence. The student may be permitted to complete such assignments, tests for full credit within a reasonable period of time as determined by the teacher and consistent with administrative regulations.
I think that is perfectly fine. It doesn't change the meaning whatsoever of
yeah.
the. So yes.
Let's run on. And then the other change that I thought of, your fourth section of highlighted area.
Mm-hmm.
It's about student absences for religious instructions.
Uh-huh.
Can we move that up under the second paragraph, because it talks about excused absences, and I just think it makes more sense to cover excused absences, and then instead of doing excused absence, what the homework's
Oh, the reason,
gonna
the
look like.
reason, and then when it. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. Yeah,
Okay.
should work for
Just
Gamma.
gonna keep going.
Okay.
She's changing? These are gamut guidelines that you used? Huh.
Yeah, it's pretty
Sounds
close.
like we don't need it.
It's good to see both. I did a lot of comparing.
Man, you're so right now, Todd. You're so right.
Okay.
Oh, yes, we could, Carrie. I have more faith in us than you do. My goodness. Don't
Okay.
read that nonsense.
And then the law really talks about the change in truancy notification letters, you know, that there's a shift from being more punitive to being more proactive.
Yep.
And it looks like we're removing the proactive paragraph. It's lined out under when students' absences. So under the third highlighted, you have like all the proactive stuff kind of crossed out, like the superintendent or designee shall establish a system to accurately track and monitor student attendance, including methods to identify student classified as chronic absentee or truant as defined in law and administrative recollections. To encourage school attendance, the superintendent or designee shall develop strategies that focus on prevention and early intervention of attendance problems.
So the reason that was ixnayed was because it talks about the Student Attendance Review Board, and that there's another policy that we'd like to bring forward because that also needs to be updated. I think the last one was 2013. So the Student Attendance Review Board is not really seen as preventative as it could be. The last sentence is preventative, but what we're going to do in the AR is we're going to add a lot of prevention activities around attendance versus a student attendance review board, where a lot of times this is with the DA and it's more considered an intervention rather than prevention. And so the law is to totally focus on prevention. So we're really building our AR.
Can we just leave the last part?
Yes,
you know?
I think that sounds
Where
good because
we
that is
just
preventative.
Talk about, like, you know, the superintendent shall monitor attendance patterns and implement early intervention strategies. I just think we need to be a little proactive. You guys good with that?
Sure, I like that addition.
Okay, last one. Last one is the very last paragraph. This is the part that confused me. And it says that our district board shall by resolution enter into its minutes approve the reasonable methods that may be used to verify student attendance due to illness or quarantine.
Okay.
So is there going to be a resolution that we're going to be voting on?
So this has to do with, it's called the CCR 421, and the reasonable methods have to do with this, because I was looking that up too, saying what does this mean? And legally, according to this CCR, California Code of Regulations, it means that we're supposed to ensure that our district is governing specific procedures for verifying student absences for illness or quarantine. It's a requirement. So if I'd have to ask Michelle DeHaven at some point, when we had the COVID epidemic, did we have any kind of resolution that went with that? So if there is an illness or quarantine like this in the future, do we have to have something in place as a resolution for that? That's what's under the code of, the California Code of Federal Regulations.
Can we do some research on that?
Yeah.
Because I feel uncomfortable passing this policy without understanding that completely.
Yeah.
If we're supposed to, pass this and do a resolution at the same time, then
Can we follow up with a Friday update?
yeah. That's it.
Well, I'm glad to know that you do not want any unnecessary quarantines.
No.
None of us do.
Okay.
Okay.
My direction. Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions? Okay. Let's take a vote on the first reading, and we look forward to an updated policy next month. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion carries 5-0 with an aye from our student board member.
Ready for
Okay,
next?
we're getting to the good stuff now.
Okay, I'll make a motion for 18.1 that we adopt resolution number 25-15, authorizing the issuance of Placentia-Yorba Unified School District 2025 general obligation refunding bonds.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mrs. Buck, a second by Mr. Frazier, and I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Velasco, and she's going to be speaking on 18.1, 18.2, and 18.3.
Very good. We're going to put those all together because they're all related to the same thing.
Okay, can I amend my motion?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'll amend my motion that we approve 18.1, 18.2, and 18.3.
Second.
Okay.
Perfect.
So we have a short presentation for you. Comes up. So we want to give you a little bit of a background before you vote. The district's financial advisors, Fieldman and Roll-Up, actually look at our debt constantly throughout the year. And they're looking to see what are the interest rates. Is there any way that we can look at our debt that's currently out there? And they advise the district, this is a good time to go through and refinance so we can save some money, which I'll get into the details in a few minutes here. So we're bringing tonight the opportunity to refinance our general obligation bonds. And then come December, we're going to come back to that board meeting and ask for approval to refinance our certificates of participation. And what that's going to do is by refinancing the GOB bonds, that saves taxpayers money. And by refinancing the COP, that saves the district money. And I'll show you a little bit more about that in a second. When we refinance both of these instruments, we are not extending maturity dates. So where they would have matured, that's the date that's staying. So this is a slide that actually shows all of the district debt. And on the top part here, you can see our general obligation bonds that are outstanding. On the bottom shows a certificate of participation that are outstanding. The green rows are the ones that we're looking at to refinance. And so just a little bit of a quick background here. As we look at our debt, some of these we can't look to refinance just because of what the debt instrument was originally, recorded as. Regarding our certificates of participation, normally we don't look at those for like a 10-year period. And so briefly going through these, I want to go quickly through row by row. On the very first row here, we have our GOB bonds of election of 2002 Series B. The great news about that is the final maturity date is actually August of 28, so very shortly that's going to be paid off. Going to the second row, those are the GOB bond election 2002 Series C. And again, that's actually going to get paid off too on August 1st of 2029, so very quickly here. And then the third one is our 2008 Series B. That one will have until 2041, but at this point we cannot call this at this point. And then going down to the fourth row, we have our GOB election of 2008 Series Q. And those are actually going to be paid off this summer, which is fantastic. The next row down is our election of 2008 Series D, and those will be paid off in 49, so a little bit out. The next one down is the 2008 Series E, and again, that will be paid off this summer, which is fantastic. Then we'll get to the green row here, which is what we're looking to refinance. So what we want to refinance is the 2015 GOB refunding bonds. And the maturity date for those is August of 2030, and that was the original maturity date. We're not extending anything. The row below that is our 2019 GO refunding bonds. That will be paid off in 2034, which will be here before we know it. The next row down is our 21 GO refunding bonds. Those will be paid off in 2039. And lastly, the GO refunding bonds from 2021, those will be paid off in 2032. So that's a quick synopsis of all of the district debt, but the great news is that a lot of these are going to be paid off pretty in our near future. Looking down at the bottom, we have 2 certificates of participation. We want to refund the 2016 certificates of participation. That final maturity date is 2033. And the row below that, it's the 2021 refunding. Those will be paid off in October of 2028. So again, those are shortly going to be paid off. So.
Joan, question.
Yes.
So, it's good. I think it's good for you to say that the maturity dates are not changing, because like when we're all thinking about refinancing our houses and things, we're thinking, oh well, we're kicking the can down the road.
Right.
The fact that that's not happening is great. There's a benefit. We're not paying as much for those. But like some of these small ones, like why couldn't we just pay them off ahead of time and save us all the interest that we would be paying had to pay them to maturity? But there's some we can't pay off, right? That we cannot do that.
According to well, actually, I'm going to pull up Jason Chung. He's actually here from Fieldman Roll-Up, and he can actually give the detail of why we can't. A lot of this is legalities, and I would rather him discuss the legalities of it.
Fair.
Welcome, Jason.
Great. Thank you for having me. I'm Jason Chung with Fieldman Roll-Up. We've served as the district's municipal advisor since 2012. The top 3 series that you might be referencing, those are on the far right. They're called cabs not callable. What likely what happened back when those were originally issued had a mixture of current interest bonds and capital appreciation bonds, which are those cabs. The district has done 4 refinancings since 2012, and those took out those current interest bond portions of those earlier bond series. What has been remaining and what's outstanding today are only those non-callable cabs. It was very much the industry norm prior to 2012 to issue cabs without a option to refinance. That was just what the investor marketplace demanded at that time. There has been legislation since August 1, 2012, where any cab that goes out past 25 years must be sold with a 10-year call protection. So any cab issued after that date has that option to refinance.
But these ones are before that date.
That's correct.
And then you mentioned the top 3, and then there's the one on from 2011 with the largest principal outstanding, right? The 27,000 with the principal outstanding of 22 million. Sorry, 22 million there.
That's correct. Since that was issued April 2011, about a year prior to that new legislation, that was structured without the option to refinance.
And that entire amount that's outstanding, that is a cab that cannot be.
That is correct. Yeah, the district did undertake a large refinancing back in 2021 that really wiped out every cab that could be refinanced. It wiped everything out back in 2021. The only things that are outstanding are the ones that legally cannot be refinanced.
So we're literally stuck with those at whatever the current rates are until.
That is correct, yeah.
August of 2049.
So can you explain, because we have had so many questions about this, like, people are saying, oh, it's, the property tax. Will their property taxes rise in 2049? Or, to pay this off? Or how does this all get paid off? Because I think everybody's very confused. You have people saying in 2030 your property tax is going to go up to pay this cab. But now we look at it and the big one, is it 27 million or is it going to be 22 million? Because this is principal outstanding. Is it 22?
22 million on the Series D bonds related.
So it'll be 22 million in 2049. And how does that get paid off? Do the property taxes rise? Like what?
So the way that Series D bond is paid off, it's 22 million, but it's spread out over a period of years. It's not all paid out in year 2049 where you have a large balloon payment and
Okay.
you're kind of stuck with the gotcha. I think those actually start to be paid off in portions starting in year 2041. The reason there's a gap from now until 2041 is you see on this list the district has about 7 or 8 other bond series that are currently being paid at the same time. And so the district and its previous finance teams throughout the years has structured all of these bond payments so that in aggregate on a total tax base it's projected to be a fairly level, consistent rate per year until that final year of maturity. To your question on if projected tax rates, will they be level at the time in 2049? Really, no one has a crystal ball. It's really dependent on the district's total assessed valuation at that time. You do have taxpayer protections due to Prop 39, so if you stay in your current home and you don't move until 2049, your assessed value, your taxable value won't increase by more than 2% each year. However, if you do plan to move homes in the district, get a home that's priced at $1.5 million, $2 million, then your taxes are going to be much higher compared to your current home at its lower assessed value.
Well, and if I could add in here too, and I know Jason can speak to it, but in layman's terms, because that's more about where I'm coming from, is this has all been planned for, and so the fact that we're not going to see, I don't believe, the property value in our cities drastically decline. As long as we stay, kind of where we're at now and continue to grow at a very small percentage increase, because when they do the projections on how these get paid out, it's a very conservative percentage for increases. So when we're talking about assessed value, that's pretty much what it means, is that we all have homes, and for those that have homes here, that as long as that holds, the value holds, or it increases just a little bit every year, we'll be able to pay these, and there won't be this major balloon payment at the end to pay these caps off.
Thank you, Ms. Velasco. And if I could just add on to my previous comment, the assessed value is the taxable value, and the projections that we use to project your bond payments are very conservative compared to what the district has actually grown in the past. I think if you took your district back 30 years, you're probably averaging north of 6% year over year. And in our projections, we're projecting you to just do 4%. So every year that you're outperforming our 4% projection means lower taxes for your community. When we've done our model, when we look at all of your bond payments and we run it at a 4% projection, in 2049, that tax rate is about to be $32 per 100,000. And I think at the time of the 2008 measure, when your district was going to voters, you did a tax rate projection quote-unquote promise of $29.70. So it's slightly higher. And again, I say, if the district continues growing at 6% compared to 4% for 10, 15 plus years, and you compound that growth, the tax rate will be much lower than $32. It'll be much lower than $29.70, most likely.
But the reality to these bonds is we can't strategically do anything to change them. We're stuck with whatever rates they're at. That's the real downside, right? Because whatever rates they're at, that can't be changed. Whereas with these other ones, we can basically refinance to strategize and get us better and save us money, but we can't do that with those ones.
Correct.
We're stuck.
That's right.
Okay. If you just want to stay in case.
Of course.
Can I ask one final question before you go? The last one there, the 2021 COP is also a non-callable. Can you talk a little bit about why we can do those as callable, non-callable now, and the other ones have changed since?
Definitely. Municipal bonds are unique in that when you refinance, you cannot extend the original term. And also, municipal bonds have a traditional call protection of 10 years. That's different than a home mortgage. If you bought a home next week, you could refinance next month if the rate is low enough. Municipal bonds, you really only get one bite at the apple every 10 years or so. And so because these COPs that were sold in 2021 had to match the original payment date of the original COPs, which was 2028, that repayment schedule was only about 7 years. So it's outside of that 10-year window to be refinanced.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So our last slide here. What we're bringing to the board for approval is our $26 million for our general obligation bonds, excuse me, So as a result of favorable interest rate conditions, the district currently projects to refinance existing 5% rate down to the 2.27%. And that's achieving a savings here of $1.1 million for our taxpayers over the next 5 years. So we're asking for board approval for tonight at the November 18th board meeting. And then we're also including here $60 million to refund the certificate of participation. And under those conditions, we're going to be saving about $2 million. And what that means is every year the district will save about $260,000 from 2026 through 2033. That is a savings that will actually help us with our facility costs, because this has to be used for facility reasons. And so with that, is there any other additional questions we have?
It'd be great if we could, that additional 24 million, we could do the same thing with, because this is great savings. Like, this is a good job. Thank you.
Yes. Yes. Okay. All right.
So let me just be clear.
Yes, ma'am.
Nobody's gonna get hit with some huge bill in 2049 or anything. Everybody's property taxes is probably going to be very level through this whole thing.
Barring a COVID times 4 Great Recession era where the tax base in your district plummets by 20%, then yes, the projected tax rate is projected to be very stable.
Okay, thank you.
Well, yes, but it's paying over time because we pay for schools to be built and infrastructure and modernization. It's a whole large
But we lose the
bond.
strategy. That sucks.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Jason.
I'm excited for our district to have more money for facilities and for our taxpayers to have savings. So, any other questions before we vote? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Motion carries 5-0 with an affirmative vote from our student board member. Okay. 19.1. I'd like to make a motion, excuse me, pursuant to Government Code 54953 to approve the employment contract for Dr. John Papalardo as Chief Business Officer, providing 1, a term of December 15, 2025 through June 30th, 2028. And 2, the Chief Business Officer's salary shall be $303,115 paid in 12-month payments. And the Chief Business Officer shall receive $350 per month car allowance. And during the term of the contract, the Chief Business Officer shall be entitled to such health and other fringe benefits as provided by other certificated employees of the district. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Dr. Kim, did you have any comments?
My comment is thank you, and I look forward to working with John.
Yes, I'm excited for you to be here. Joan, I'm going to be very sad for you to be gone. But I'm glad that you're going to be just a phone call away.
Can I say, you are absolutely right. Joan has done a tremendous job to set up John for success, and so thank you to her.
Thank you, Joan. And I just wanted to be clear that this contract is a simple majority contract. There's no supermajority. It's termination is a simple 3-2 vote. So we're all clear about that. Since that's been a controversy. Okay. Any other comments? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And that was a unanimous vote.
That was a unanimous vote. So, welcome to the district, John.
I'll move next. The Sunshine CSEA Chapter 293 initial proposal for negotiations for the reopener contract agreement for the 25-26 school year.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mrs. Buck, a second by Mrs. Quintero, and I'll turn it over to Mrs. Mendoza, who's also worked really hard at our district.
Thank you. We received the Sunshine proposal from CSEA. It's included in your packet along with the documents that they submitted. The entire contract is open this year. They gave us some specific articles, and in the next item in 19.3 is the districts that we matched some of the other articles that were not included. And everything looks good, and we're ready to start negotiations.
Do you want to amend?
Okay, I'll amend it. Can we amend and add 19.3 as well?
A second.
Okay. We have amended to combine 19.2 and 19.3 by Mrs. Buck and Mrs. Quintero. Any other questions? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 5-0 with an aye from our student board member. Okay, we made it to the consent calendar. Actions proposed for the consent calendar are considered with approved practices of the district and are deemed routine in nature. The trustees receive board agenda backup information in advance of the scheduled meeting and are prepared to vote with knowledge of the block item votes. Is there any items to be pulled?
23.5.
23.5?
23.5.
23.5. Anybody else?
Sorry, guys. I won't have much for a board report then. How about that? How about I abstain? I'll abstain from my board report.
Okay. So now do we have a motion for the consent calendar?
So moved.
Second.
So we have Mrs. Blades and Mrs. Buck as our second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 5-0 with an aye from our student board member. And now we're to 23.5.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the agreement with OCDE to lead an ethnic studies task force to support the rewriting of the PYL-USD multicultural course during the 25-26 school year.
I'll second. I actually agree with you pulling this.
Okay, we have a motion by Mrs. Blades and a second by Mr. Frazier.
So I was reading this and I was a little bit confused because we have an ethnic studies course already that we put together, and I understand that it's a year-long course, and what the state of California is asking for is a semester-long course. And so my question is why are we even doing this? Because the state is not funding this course. And so this is like an unfunded program, and a lot of school districts are choosing not to go forward with this program because it's not funded. So we have to pay an extra teacher, we have to pay teachers, we have to do all these things. So it's actually causing us to spend money, and the state of California is not giving us any. The other question I had too was we have our course, I believe it's A through G, we're all good to go on it, and so why are we paying $10,000 to OCDE task force to basically come in and rewrite our multicultural course when we have one and we have staff? We've done this before, so if it's the process of condensing it, why are we not just condensing it on our own and keeping our already approved multicultural course? That's my question. And so what changes would we be making to our course that's already in place and can easily be condensed?
Thank you. When we do have staff put these items on the agenda, we go through them in our extended cabinet. So I've had the conversation. Obviously, I'm developing an understanding as I'm learning sort of what the regulations are and where we're adjusting and adapting to changes within legislation. I'm going to phone a friend. Mr. Young over there was the person who had given me in-depth understanding and background in how we have proceeded in this space. So I'm going to ask him to jump in and talk about the changes. Yep.
All right, thank you. So actually, we recently were approached by the OC Register not more than a month ago, because the Register was actually conducting a study of all school districts in Orange County to see where they are at in this process of developing this semester course. PYL USD is well ahead of that curve because we do have the year-long course in our course catalog for all of our 4 comprehensive high schools. We've offered that every year since the year it was mandated to be offered. The legislation, right, as it exists right now, requires it to be a graduation requirement by the class of 2030. What we're finding and seeing across the county is that different districts are going at different speeds to get to that 2030 mark. Our district actually accepted what's called the Ethnic Studies Block Grant for $200,000, and that block grant money expires at the end of this year. So we basically have from now until end of the fiscal year in June to do this work with the guidance of Orange County Department of Ed. And there's kind of 2 options as we see it. We have 50% of the salary for our history, social science, TOSA paid for out of this block grant to lead that work. So we have an on-staff person who is also part of leading the training and the task force that helped develop the original course as it was. But OCDE is actually piloting their own curriculum right now through through Access in Orange County. So they've actually developed one that's been modeled off of the state in other places too. So it's not exactly that. They did their own kind of they're piloting it right now. So the option that will present itself will be that they're going to use OCDE like we have for so many different adoptions of curriculum to help guide us in, do we want to pare down what we already had and that's board approved, or do we want to look at some of their units or some of their lessons and adopt some of them into our semester-long course. Now, all that being said, once we get to the spring, it'll be presented to Curriculum Council, who will then recommend it to the board for adoption. We can have that semester course approved, taken through A through G and everything like that. And we don't even have to enact it, right, next school year or the year after that or the year after that. It's not until the class of 2030. And I keep telling people there's a big if statement, right? If the state doesn't provide additional funding, the mandate has no meaning, right? We don't have to, even though it's in our board policy that says it's coming, right, in the class of 2030, and that we're going to amend our graduation requirements to include it, without money to train teachers, right, to buy the curriculum, to do anything with it, the mandate kind of goes away. So again, we're trying to capitalize, I think, on using the funding that we have at present to have OCDE lead a task force of teachers who are all the original teachers and developers of our year-long course with our TOSA to get it and have it just in case it does become funded. And then we have, again, 2 or 3 more years down the road before we actually have to possibly ask the board to amend our grad recs to include it. So that's as much of a comprehensive summary as I think I can provide, but I'm open to any questions you might have.
No, that's a good summary. So question then, if we have to spend this money on the ethnic studies course, why wouldn't we just do it in-house with our existing curriculum and spend the money in-house and benefit all the people in our district? Like, why are we going to OCDE as opposed to just doing it ourselves like we did the first time?
Mm-hmm. So they have actually helped guide our adoption process for our language arts curriculum for secondary. They're helping and guide us for a math adoption for a curriculum. And so when we go out to them and hire them, they do this with many districts in Orange County because they're essentially experts on developing consensus, right? So it's not that they're saying you should use this lesson and you should use that lesson, but they're helping get the teachers to a place where they can make the decisions that they need to make to come to consensus to say, this is what our district would like to have included in the course, because we know our community, right? They're just kind of there to help us steer the process. And so while our history, social science, TOSA can do that, It's also kind of beneficial to kind of have an objective party help guide it. They're not making decisions about the adoption for us. They're not party of the voting. It ultimately goes to curriculum council for the vote, who then makes the recommendation to the board, and you ultimately have the vote about whether or not you adopt the materials and the curriculum.
I kind of feel like this is like a waste of money because we already have it. And so all we need to do is condense it. And I've actually looked at the ethnic studies at the county level, and it would probably violate some of our critical race theory bans and controversial issues and things like that. That's why we went away, because we wanted a pure multicultural course that didn't have any of the controversial stuff that the state. And so the OCDE has adopted a lot of the stuff from the state. So that's my fear, is why are we paying money when we specifically put the work in to create an actual multicultural course that didn't have any of the controversy in there? So why are we going to people who have that type of controversy in their curriculum at the county level that they got from the state level, and then paying them to guide us when it doesn't appear that we need guidance? I mean, I'd rather pay our staff $10,000 if needed to
I understand
do this.
I understand the value of getting an outside opinion or even somebody just to facilitate it. Yeah, I think that's important. Curious why the OCDE is the choice, but maybe there's a better explanation to that, or we looked into other sources for this, or.
Yeah, I would say that, again, in my short experience as director of secondary education, they are the most affordable insofar as facilitating curriculum adoptions. So, and we have, obviously, as a district within Orange County Department of Ed, we have that relationship with them. So, again, they've helped steer us in the last couple of adoptions that I've been a part of. And I will also share, just kind of a little bit more in depth, our current history social science TOSA is serving TK through 12. We have one. So half of her job will be leading this task force, developing the curriculum that we feel best suits our community. And the other half is supporting every grade level between TK and 12 with their training, their resources, right? So while she could do it, it is kind of like a full-time job. And she's spread pretty thin this year, and she just got back from serving as interim AP at Yorba Linda High School. So her runway is short, and I'm trying to give her support that I know OCD has provided us in the past.
Well, just tell me, if we already have this and it's a year-long course, how hard is it to condense it to a semester if all the material is already there and that has been adopted by the board? I guess that's the question I'm struggling with, is why would it, if we have a year-long course, then that means that we have a whole lot of information in there. Mm-hmm. And so what further information would you be gathering from the Orange County Department of Education for this course besides just condensing the course?
Can I jump in? I think part of it, I don't think Orange County has anything to do with our content, and they shouldn't. That's our decision. That's your decision. You get to approve courses. I think what I understand them to be doing is just providing the facilitation, to be the person who brings the group together and lets our TOSA and lets the teachers actually work actively together. What I would tell you from my frame of reference in terms of facilitation, this isn't a very big price tag. This is actually, you're going to pay 2 to 3 times this if we go out to an outside commercial entity that's going to facilitate. I will tell you that. I do know that.
Do we know how much money is left that needs to be spent of this block grant? Like, are we going to not be able to spend it all?
So, again, half her salary, this contract with the OCDE and the task force hours will get us right to the bottom of that barrel.
They will. Okay.
Yeah.
So we're not leaving money on the table.
Right.
Got it.
We're going to pay our
And
teachers for their time as a part of this process.
Yeah. And that's what the money is earmarked for. So we have to spend it and show what we spent it on. Not that I'm saying we're creating a contract with them to help spend down the money, but again, they have been effective in I guess working with our teachers to develop our materials.
Okay, so a better way for me, the way I'm hearing this, to put this into context, is we're spending $10,000 with OCDE instead of $30,000 potentially with some outside company, and we're taking that $20,000 or we're giving it back to our people. That's a way better way to frame this whole thing, and to confirm that OCDE is not messing with our curriculum.
I will tell you, I mean, to put it in perspective, when I hire project management to come in and facilitate, like High School Reimagined, when I did that in Jeffco, and when I did start times and end times, that contract is typically between 70,000 and 120,000 for a year-long work of facilitation, because those people are expensive. And if, as long as the contract and the scope is they're here to facilitate and not tell us what to do, then I think we're getting a deal, because we still get to stay true, to your point, Leandra, stay true to what our teachers have put together and been really thoughtful about aligning to the standards or to the expectations around grad requirements. I think you asked the question about going from a year-long course to a half a year-long course, and I would, in any content, want our teachers to have the time and energy to really engage and look at it and make sure they're making really thoughtful decisions on what's a reasonable amount of content and the right amount of that content in order to now make it a semester-long course, rather than try to squish it, or rather than try to take out stuff that wouldn't be the appropriate stuff to take out. And so I would want to pay them for that time. I think that's the right thing to do, to make sure that the course reflects our community's values and meets grad requirements.
I'm happy
And
to say we're giving $20,000 back to our people instead
Well,
of some other stuff.
I was just thinking, like, if we have $30,000 to give back, I mean, I would rather pay our people more, if possible. And so that's my only thought, is like, why aren't we paying our own people more money to put this course together versus somebody from the outside, if we've already done it? That was my issue.
And it is quite a bit of work, because I mean, it sounds like it's a simple task to condense a year into a semester, but you have readings and assignments and, like you said, topics and
Standards
everything,
to check
standards,
off.
and, you know, figuring out which standards are going to be more than others. So, yeah, No, I know, but I think having it, like you said, an outside person to kind of look at it and help organize or help them around things would really help.
But I see your point. I would rather pay our people too.
And I'd rather keep our content. I like our.
I like our content, and I like the idea of being able to shrink it down to one semester to make it more accessible to students, because the impacted classes and schedules that they have. If they can make a choice to take a semester-long class and take it, versus if it's a 1 year and they want to balance it with other things, it gives them more flexibility.
Well, and I also think too, we need to be thoughtful. I mean, if we're going to do this, then we're going to do it, but we need to be thoughtful that if the state's not going to fund this, then we just need to not even touch it. So
But maybe some of the kids want it, so
Well,
we
I'm not
still have to
saying
factor that
But
in.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying is, if it's a graduation requirement, then we're going to have a certain amount of classes at each school site. If it's not going to be a graduation requirement and it's just going to be like an elective, there's a possibility we won't have to have as much. So
Okay, let's take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All
No.
opposed? Okay. Motion carries 4-1, and our student board member was a yes, correct? Okay. So now it's time for board reports. Mrs. Blades, you want to start?
Yes. So I was just going to hit on, I wasn't here. I can't even remember. I wasn't here last month, so I'm all confused about what happened and where I was. And I would just like to say that I really, really am appreciative of Dr. Kim and all the work that she's done and the honest conversations that she's having. And, you walked in and it was a mess, we'll say. And just, she's really trying hard as far as like calendar thing. Everything that she's been doing has been very thoughtful. So I'm really appreciative of that. And the only other deal that people have been really reaching out to me about, in fact, a lot of the teachers, is the PRISM training. Obviously, it went offline on Monday, and it sounds like it's going to be, the state might be sanctioned for it because it, was talking about keeping secrets from parents. And so when this whole thing started, I was on a lot of Zooms over the summertime, or I think it was the summertime. See, I don't even know when it was. But, the teachers were they were talking about how they were having to, answer tests and they didn't believe in what their answers were, and they were having to write out statements and they didn't really feel like it was appropriate. And so it did go to court, and it sounds like the state took it down. They might be sanctioned for whatever they were doing with this training. And so I'm assuming that we'll get more guidance as the court case goes on about this. And so I was just going to give that update. Is that's where the PRISM stands right now. I was able to go to a lot of football games, flag football games, saw a lot of sporting events, and just really happy with the way that our students and our athletes have been conducting themselves at a lot of these events. Some of the actions of the other teams have been less than admirable, and our players really, kept their tempers in line. And I'm sure if anybody's at the same games as me, they know what I'm talking about. And so I just really wanted to applaud our athletes, and I'm hoping that our students, we seem to have a lot of positive things besides the calendar. We haven't had a lot of complaints. So it seems like our school sites are running well and running efficiently, and you're letting us know if it's not, so that's appreciative. But yeah, looking forward to kind of the transition to the winter sports and all the winter plays and the concerts. Hoping I can get out to more of those things. And on a personal note, I have a 14-week-old golden retriever now, and so I've been very busy. And I have lots of bite marks on my ankles and my arms right now. In fact, too, I wanted to wear open-toed shoes tonight, but her tooth snagged one of my toenails, and so my pedicure is totally ruined. But I love her to death. It's great. And I bring that up because when I was in the process of getting her, the owners of the dad, he's a service dog, and so he goes, they have a son that plays back east, plays baseball, and so he actually goes back there and does a lot of work with the baseball teams and the college and the programs. And so on top of everything else, and I know that you're a part of dogs and service things, I do think that we may want to think when things slow down is to maybe invest in some of our own service dogs at some of our school sites. It really helps mental health, and I know that some of the principals have expressed that they would be happy to participate in the program. And so I think things like that, maybe just bring smiles to kids' faces, is something that, we should look into. So that was my only thought, and that's why I brought my golden retriever, because I'm not going to offer her as a service dog, because right now she's absolute lunatic and probably would not be considered. But in the future, Bourbon Jane with my Whiskey Ray. So.
Just to piggyback on that for a second, it would be great if we could bring the service dogs. I agree. I know my kids had them when they were at Wagner, and they still talk about them and know their names. And I even met one in the office one day. It was a big brown dog. I'm not sure of the breed, but his name was Oh So Handsome. So I'll never forget that either. So it even made an impact on me. So I agree. So this last month, I attended the District Sinfonia concert. I know I keep saying it all the time, especially to Dr. Kim, about how talented our students are. But it was just an amazing concert. Honoring, on top of that, honoring a great teacher from Valencia from their music program. So it was very touching and very nice to see that all the students' talents come to just to show everybody, and to see that in person is just, I was awestruck. So it was very nice. And so that was great. I also attended the band pageant, which was my first one. It was very fun. It's nice to step away from the athletic world, which I would have been doing at the time, but to go to the band pageant and experience that. So I was excited. I had a Wednesday night free finally and got to do that. Very fun. The weather was cold, but it was very worth it. And again, seeing the talent of everyone and everybody, all the middle schools and the high schools being there, and the parents beaming, of course, with pride, watching their, whether it's a middle school student out there for the first time or a senior in the band or color guard. for their last show. It was amazing to see. So very excited to see the parents and their reactions and the students as well. Attended the Teacher of the Year Awards for 2 amazing PYL teachers. I know we have a lot of amazing teachers in the district, but these 2 really, they represented everybody well. I would have to say that they did a really good job representing everybody well. It was great to celebrate with their families there, and other teachers that came along to celebrate with them, and the district staff that was there. So that was wonderful to see, and to see what all the other teachers in the districts are doing as well, with their snippets and their videos, and to see the great work that's being done across Orange County. I actually got to go to Trunk or Treat at Wagner. Kind of made a last minute visit. Had to give a shout out to Mrs. Pipkin and Mrs. Seitz for their great car, their Star Wars car. I told them that I would make sure that I mentioned them, and it was really a great attended event by families. Really nice to see everybody having fun. The kids dressed up. The PTA did a wonderful job with the organization. They had a DJ, lots of cars. The kids were, running around, having dance parties here and there, playing on the playground. So that was really fun to see. And then actually this last weekend, I took my niece, who we're trying to convince to be a cheerleader, to the Eldo Cheer Showcase. A little bit of brainwashing going on, but and that was great to see all the schools from the county and the different areas get together and showcase their competition routines that are coming up. So that was fun to do as well. So yeah, it's been great, and I'm looking forward to have a date scheduled for some school visits in January. And then also in the next couple weeks, I'll be attending the CSBA conference. So looking forward to all that. Thanks.
All right. Well, winter sports have come to an end. I attended several football games, flag football games, went to a volleyball game. There's just so many things happening, and watching the kids participate in CIF, the highest level of competition that you can be in. And I was at the Yorba Linda versus Los Al game at Los Al, and watching these boys come off the field, even though they didn't make it, they got put in Division II. Like it was a hard place to be. They fought till the very end, and watching them come off, and the seniors being exhausted and sad but excited all at the same time that they got to do what they got to do, and remembering their 4 years of high school, and then who knows what's to come. It's so, I say it every time, but it's so encouraging to see these students do what they're able to do in arenas that push them to their limits. And I think the things that they go away from here with those experiences, I think are going to make them into fantastic humans as they move forward. I was able to attend flag football banquet for the Esperanza flag football team. My daughter is a senior, and that was, the first senior banquet of 3 that I have to attend this year. And so that's an end of a chapter for me. So it's also just kind of seeing that transition in on my own as well is just reflecting on things and over the years and the things that have happened. And then tonight, everybody's being maybe the most positive public comment we've ever had since I've been here. Everybody talking about gratitude and the things that they're grateful for, and the things that we can all focus on that are positive. I think it's important to make sure that we remember those things, even though there are things that we need to work on. There's things that we need to make sure that we protect. There's also so much to be grateful for, especially in this district and in Orange County in general. We're blessed to live where we all live. And then just following the theme of gratitude, I think since you've been hired, Kim, I've had more, I think, this is not a bad thing, simple strategic conversations with you that were common sense that I appreciate so much. And it's reflected in the way that you articulate your plans and your goals and the processes that you're putting in place. I'm really, really optimistic about what's going to happen with you at the helm, and I'm really glad that we brought you in. And I'm glad that you sacrificed coming to the coast. So, it's really difficult. So I know it was hard. So, but I'm really excited about what's to come here. I know that things are moving in a good direction. I unfortunately didn't get to go to the band pageant. I love going to that. I couldn't make it, but it's always good to see students doing what they do best. I'll be attending maybe even twice this weekend, the failure play at El Dorado. If you don't have plans Thursday, Friday, Saturday, go check it out at the PAC. It's going to be great. That's my report.
Thanks, Todd. I also have on my notes the appreciation that was shared tonight. I love that. So I encourage all of you to keep bringing it. Talk about your fellow teachers, your fellow staff, and tell us what's happening. It's really, it feels good to hear that things are happening in a positive way out there in our district. That's what we want to hear. Just a few things. I missed the VHS showcase, but I heard that it was amazing, the best one yet, and you can see it all online, which you can. So I did. So I highly recommend that you go and watch their showcase. I was at the band pageant and the Teacher of the Year, so I won't go over that, but it was nice to be there with Rod and Vicky to celebrate with them. EDHS and VHS for the first time were student section of the season winners 1 and 2 for Orange County, which I thought was really cool. So congratulations to them. I can vouch for the fact that they have amazing school spirit. I am debating whether I'm going to do the matinee or the evening show of Failure, a Love Story on Saturday, so maybe I'll see one of you there. The Amy Madrigal Invitational is coming up this week, and Amy was a friend of mine as she was a friend of lots of people. So I am going to make every effort to get there, even though it's during the workday. That's a little hard, but it's important. So please join us out there. We'll be at Yorba Regional Park. CSBA conference in a couple of weeks, and I missed Read for the Record. It's, I think, the first one that I've missed, and I was so bummed about it. Oh gosh, I love it. It is really one of my favorite things of the whole school year. I thought they usually came up in March, so it totally just missed my radar. Yes. Thank you to our staffs at the Family Resource Centers and our McKinney-Vento staff that support all of our students out there that need a little extra help, especially right now. I know that they've gone above and beyond to make sure that families have the food they need and the extra care. So thank you to them. Next week, happy Thanksgiving. So I hope you all get a nice break and get to spend some time with friends and family and get a nice restful time, and we will see you in December.
Good evening. First, I would like to congratulate Ariana Mejia. She was named Yorba Linda Chamber of Commerce Student of the Month, so congratulations. I also attended the high school Symphonia Orchestra concert, which was amazing, and it's been talked about, but I just wanted to mention two things. If your kids are an elementary string student, I highly recommend you go listen to our high school students, because it might be a little scratchy right now, but don't give up, because it was just such high quality music that was amazing, and I loved it. And the other thing I loved is that they had two students. They paid tribute to Bruce Topping, the orchestra teacher of Valencia, and it was very touching and moving. And going into this gratitude theme, that night I ran across my music teacher from PYLUSD, Linda Owen. She taught all my siblings, and she asked about every one of them. And my one sister, when I took a picture and sent it, she goes, she's the reason I'm a music teacher. And I'm just so grateful for her and her dedication. She taught elementary music for many years, and then she became our VAPA coordinator through the district. And she really heightened the music program here at PYL. And so I'm just grateful for her. I also visited OCSES, and I had a great time touring the campus with the new principal, Mr. Shepard, and we got to visit the dual language classes where they are working on their Dias de los Muertos projects, and And I also went into the innovation labs and saw students working on different projects and design concepts. And I got to observe break, and it just happened to be PJ Day. So I know all the latest trends now. So thank you. I visited Brookhaven Elementary also, and I picked the perfect day to go there. There was so much going on in that campus, and it was really supported by the many parents that volunteer there. It was just incredible. I saw parents in full force helping with the book fair, the running club, working in classes, working centers, working with the students, and it was just such great to see what a difference parents can make at a school, and I really enjoyed that. I also observed 5th and 6th grade students working with students during recess as part of their peer leadership. And I talked to them, and they shared what they do, their training that they receive, and they said that they continue to receive monthly training so they can better serve the students at Brookhaven. And I just thought it was great. And I also ran into students from El Dorado who are in the Teacher Pathway program, and seeing them work in small groups and with students. And one of the students I talked to, she was telling me, she goes, yeah, I'm here 3 days a week, and then I go to Topaz 3 afternoons a week. And she was just really excited. She was already enrolled in Fullerton College, and she's going to study early childhood. So it was just kind of, I think I just picked the perfect day, and I don't know how I did that. I attended Read for the Record at Valadez, and it's been talked about here, but I just wanted to say my favorite part was talking to the 8th graders and their excitement and them sharing what they remembered coming to the school as first graders, and now that they're 8th graders, and being able to work with the students. And I love what one administrator told me. He said, today is a bucket filling day. And I truly believe that. I also attended Future Ready Day at Valencia, where the students had an opportunity to meet with counselors from different colleges and career reps, fill out a financial aid, explore different career opportunities, and get ready for life after graduation. And I think that these Future Ready Days are amazing, and I know that was a lot of coordination, and a lot of volunteers were there helping, and so just thank you to everybody for helping these students. I also attended the band pageant, which has been talked about tonight, and it was just like every year. It's truly amazing and remarkable, and I'm just so grateful for all of our amazing students for sharing their talents, and for all the work that goes into between the teachers and the music leaders and the specialty groups working with the students. It was just a great night. And I also took my grandkids to the trunk or treat at Ruby Drive, and it was a really fun night, and the creativity is just out the window with what people come up with, and we had a great night. It was a great family event, and it was very fun. So I just want to wish everybody a great Thanksgiving next week, and enjoy your time with your family. Thank you.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mrs. Blades, a second by Mr. Frazier.
It's 9:11.
And it is 9:11. Adjourn 11. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, 5 to 0 plus 1. Motion carries.